Gentlemen, most men don't look bad because they buy cheap clothes. They look bad because they're wearing the right items the wrong way. A t-shirt can make you look sharp or sloppy. A jacket can elevate you or ruin your proportions. Even your fragrance, done wrong, can sabotage first impressions. In this video, I'm breaking down the most common style mistakes men make, piece by piece, and exactly how to fix them. Watch closely because chances are you're making at least 3 of these mistakes right now. 99% of men do not know this about t-shirts. And the detail I'm about to talk about makes a big difference in how the shirt fits in the torso. So whether you got 6-pack abs or you're carrying a keg, you want to pay attention here. The detail I'm talking about is the shirt's hem. Now commonly we're going to see 4 types of hems: straight, curved, split, and elongated. The straight hem is the most common, it's the classic look, and it works relatively well for most body shapes, especially the dad bod. And that's because it's a relaxed fit that gives you a little bit more room in the torso. Now, if you're in really good shape, you're going to want to look at the curved hem, and that's because this design helps to eliminate bunching around the midsection. Also, if you've got a significant drop, that's where your chest is larger than your waist, this particular hem is great at accentuating an athletic build. Now, what if you've got some curves? You've got wider hips, or maybe you spend a lot of time in the gym and you love the squat rack. Now, a curved hem can work, but a split hem may be even better for you. Because of this division of the front and back of the shirt at the base, you've got a lot more room around the hips and the shirt can just simply lay properly. And what if you've got a longer torso or you're over 6'2"? Well, the common problem here is that most t-shirts aren't made to accommodate a torso of this length. So that's where an elongated hem is perfect. With this shirt, you can raise your arms above your head and not worry about exposing your midsection. Now, gents, I'm sharing all that with you because the reality is a lot of guys are wearing their t-shirts wrong. And by that, I mean that they could choose a style or a fit that would suit them better and have them looking better if they understood these details. Let's take, for example, the neckline. Now, the majority of shirts sold out there are crew necks. Now, that particular style is classic, and for most body types, it's going to work well. And the reason it works well, in case you're wondering, is a crew neck is actually going to widen the appearance of the shoulders. For most of us, me included, this is a great thing. But if you've got a 21-inch neck, if you've got shoulders that are so wide, you've got to turn sideways to go through a door, well, a more flattering neckline for you is going to be the V-neck, or going with a classic Henley. You see that V right there in the front, that line that goes right there is going to draw attention, and it's actually going to make your neck look longer. This in turn makes you look more proportioned and attractive. Now, before we go any farther, I first want to cover the basics: fit, fabric, and function. This is my style pyramid in which if you hit each of these, you are always going to be appropriately dressed. Now, when it comes to t-shirts, making sure it fits you properly is the #1 key to making sure that shirt looks good on you. It sounds obvious, but so many times we compromise. We find a shirt that's on sale, it's close, or we already have shirts in our wardrobe, brands and sizes we're used to, but our body has changed. Now, gents, you're a smart guy. You know wearing a t-shirt, especially without a jacket or an overshirt, there is nowhere to hide. By that, I mean if you don't have a good fit, everyone's going to be able to see. And normally with a piece of clothing, I would say know the name of your tailor, take it to get adjusted, but t-shirts, there's only so much you can do here. And the cost usually makes it prohibitive unless you're making the adjustment yourself. Adjusting the width of the sleeves or the length of the shirt being the exceptions here. So when it comes to fit, as you can see from the image here, a good fit versus a bad fit makes or breaks the outfit. So when you're choosing a t-shirt, the area that's not going to get adjusted, the shoulders. You got to make sure that the shoulder points on the t-shirt match your shoulder points. If we don't have a good fit here, don't even consider wearing this t-shirt. Next up, you want it to fit in the chest. About 1.5 to 3 inches of excess room is all you need. Next up, we've got torso, and this really depends on your body type. Now, personally, in the torso, I like a shirt to have about 2 inches of room, give or take an inch. And now let's talk about length. When untucked, a t-shirt should go about 2 inches below your waistline. If you're 5'8" or below, this can be a little bit less. If you're 5'9" or above, you may want to go a little bit more. In any case, try to buy a shirt that fits you right here, but if you've got a t-shirt that you absolutely love, making the hem shorter is a relatively easy fix. Making it longer, impossible. And for the sleeves, I do think they look better when they touch the arm, and tightening them up is a relatively easy fix. Next up, let's talk about function. Is the clothing you're wearing appropriate for the situation? Now, the reality, t-shirts, they're always casual. They've got their origins in underwear. Yeah, t-shirts originated as undershirts that were worn under a dress shirt that had a collar. The idea here is those undershirts would actually enhance the life of the more expensive dress shirts. About 150 years ago, the t-shirt started to be mass manufactured, and because it was relatively inexpensive, it eventually slipped into workwear, especially in the military, because if you got to go up there and swab the deck, you don't want to be wearing your nice uniform. So a pair of trousers and a t-shirt if you're on the work detail, well, those habits stuck around, and by the 1950s, the t-shirt had made made its way into civilian wear. Think Marlon Brando in the Wild Bunch, the t-shirt with the leather jacket, and by the 1970s and 1980s, you got the graphic tee making its rounds. I share all this with you because you may think you look great with that black t-shirt, black pants, black boots, but unless it's an ultra casual wedding, you want to pay attention to dress codes, which usually call for shirts that have a collar. That being said, if it's a really nice t-shirt, you own the company, you want to match it with a blazer or a sports jacket, or you're a rock star on the red carpet, basically if you've got the confidence or in a position of power, you can wear whatever you want. But for the rest of us, in most situations that you're encouraged to dress up, a t-shirt probably is not the choice you want to go with. Now let's talk about fabric. That's the material the shirt is made from, and I think the biggest mistake here is that most men have no understanding of it at all. And if they do, they think 100% cotton is the only way to go. Now gents, don't get me wrong, I love 100% cotton, but in a t-shirt, it's got limitations. Most notably, when wearing cotton, it stretches, and it doesn't return to its original shape unless exposed to heat. Also, fabrics like polyester used to have a bad association because of poor manufacturing practices, but gents, in the last 30 years, they've made a lot of advancements, especially when it comes to performance fabrics. These are sports shirts made from mostly polyester that are made to wick away moisture, be able to stretch in multiple directions, and be antibacterial. So having said all that, what's the best choice here? It really comes down to what do you want from the shirt. If I want a shirt that's got a bit of stretch, I'm gonna look for a little bit of spandex so the collar goes right back to its original shape when I pull it over my head. If I want something that's gonna stretch, not gonna pill, is gonna be breathable, a fabric that's gonna drape well, I'm looking for a little bit of polyester. And if I want something to bring it together that gives it that elegant type of look, I'm going to look for cotton. So in this case, a tri-blend fabric is perfectly fine. Now I mentioned graphic tees. I don't want to beat up on them too much, but I do think that if you are a mature man, you're over the age of 25, you should probably put away the graphic tees and just get back to classic shirts in a variety of colors. I also try to stay away from big logos unless I'm getting paid by the brand. And in general, patterns and designs can be a little bit too much, so stick with solid colors. Black and white are great staple colors to have in your wardrobe. If you find that you're really warm toned like me, you may want to look for grays, charcoal grays in particular, medium grays, navy blues. If you like earth tones, dark greens, beige, tan. Heck, I'll even throw maroon in there, which is one of my favorite colors. As for the brighter colors, if it works with your skin tone, you got a darker color, you want to go with one of those brighter ones, I think that that's perfectly fine. But understand those brighter colors in general are going to make the shirt even more casual. Now, what about matching colors? So the simplest way to explain this is you have monochromatic looks and you have contrast looks. If you're in great shape or you want to draw attention to a particular part of the body, contrast looks are great. If you're carrying a little bit more weight around the midsection, if you want someone's eyes to go up and down when they look at your outfit to give you a more slimming profile, then making sure your shirt has low contrast with your trousers is a great choice. Pop quiz. When it comes to jeans, what do you think matters most? Brand? Price? Color? Durability? The answer is actually a lot of things. In fact, there are 14 factors that really matter to men. What are they? Well, in order of priority: fit, comfort, durability, quality, price, flattering look, multifunctional, color, softness, style, performance features, brand, stretch, and sustainability. Now, a lot of guys out there are happy just to get a few of those things in their denim. Me, I think a man can get everything. Everything! Let's start things off by talking about fit. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Fit is king. When you have jeans that fit your body, you're going to feel and look good. But what does proper fit mean? So there's two things. There's the shape and the size of the jeans, and then there's what you actually like on your body. You could have twins, exact same body types, put them in the exact pair of jeans, and you may have one twin say, you know what, this is too tight on me. The other twin say, you know what, this is too loose on me. Simply how they like their clothing to fit. And when I'm talking about fit, I'm not just referring to the right size for your waist and the length of your legs. Rather, I'm talking about the cut of the jeans and how that enhances or detracts from your proportions. That means the best way to shop for fit is to focus on the right cut for your specific body type. Let's take a look at the 5 most common male body types and what type of jeans work best for each. First off, jeans for the thin man. This body type has a light build and a flat chest, small shoulders, and lean muscles. The best jean for this body type are slim or straight cut jeans. They flatter your slender build without drawing too much attention to your undefined legs. And what type of jeans should a thin man avoid wearing? You want to skip the wide leg and baggy jeans. You're just going to look like you're swimming in them. And what about skinny jeans? In general, I like to avoid them. But if you're a skinny guy, if you really think they flatter your body type, then go for it. Next up, we've got the athletic man. Athletic men are defined with a slim waist waist, good muscle tone in the legs and buttocks. So what jeans suit an athletic build? Well, this body type is pretty versatile and you've got options. You can wear slim jeans, straight jeans. The one style to avoid, in my opinion, are baggy jeans. I mean, come on, you spend time in the gym, you eat right, you want to show off your build, right? Now let's talk about the muscular man and the jeans that work for this body type. Believe it or not, this body type is one of the most difficult to buy jeans for. The issue here is you got a trim waist matched with large thighs and buttocks. In general, the best jean style for a muscular man is going to be a straight or regular fit. Overall, this style is going to best balance out your muscular upper body. And if these jeans are a bit too large in the waist area, I would advise just taking them to a tailor to get adjusted or wearing a belt just to bring them in about an inch. That being said, avoid tight, skinny jeans. They're going to over-exaggerate your bottom proportions, and yeah, you don't want to look like a cartoon character. Showtime! Next up, we've got jeans for the guy with wide hips. You've got kind of a pear-shaped, and let's find some jeans that work for your body type. Now, the trick here is to choose jeans that balance out your proportions. You don't want to overemphasize those large hips. Good style choices here include relaxed fit jeans. They're going to give you a comfortable fit so your jeans don't stretch in the growing area. Straight leg jeans with a high rise. They're going to maintain an equal width from the hips to the hem. Loose jeans with a wide leg and seat. This is a comfortable option for a casual appearance. Jeans to avoid: skinny jeans, overly tapered jeans, low-rise jeans. All of these are going to give you a feminine silhouette. Next up, jean styles for the guy that's got a larger waist. Now, the body type we're talking about here is a plus-size guy. You've got a larger midsection as well as large thighs, large buttocks, and calves. Now, for this body type, you want to avoid low-rise jeans. I'm not saying you have to go with high-rise, but you want to go with at least a medium rise, as they're going to help to hide a large belly. The best ones are going to have wide, straight legs, and it's going to balance out overall your proportions. And gents, I really want to stress this point. Don't be discouraged if your body type won't allow you to fit into the latest trend of jeans. Seriously, stick with the classics, stick with what works with your body type. Oh, and to make things simple, I'm linking to an infographic that covers all this in a matter of seconds down in the description of today's video. I will say, and we're going to get into the second part right here, comfort, that it is something that you find and you want to practice wearing clothing. Some people just simply like clothing that fits them a bit closer, and I do think most men make the mistake when it comes to denim of not wearing jeans that fit them a bit closer. That being said, I get it. Some guys just really like loose jeans, and if that's you, just own it, go for it. But look at the different styles. And this is key. Whenever you're looking at brands, you're looking at different companies out there. You want to make sure that they've got different fits. You definitely need to put the jeans on and you need to, do some squats, see how it fits in the crotch area, in the buttocks, in the legs. And this was farther down on levels of importance, but I think it's actually really important. Try to have a bit of stretch in there. Why? This gives you just a lot more room. It's going to make them more comfortable, especially when you wear the jeans a little bit closer. Stretch in jeans is one of the best innovations I've seen in the last 20 years. Yes, it started off a little bit suspect, but now it has gotten really good. 5%, 10% of stretch in those jeans is going to make a huge difference in the overall fit and feel. And when you're trying those jeans on, don't forget to look at yourself in the mirror. Look at the backside. See how they make you look from behind. Yes, I know, flattering look. A lot of guys ranked it kind of middle. Not that important, but I think that's a lie. So many guys, when they put on jeans, they want them to, come on, ladies, they look at that backside. They like the nice package. Yeah, put on jeans that are going to get you compliments, that are going to have her taking a second look. Now let's talk about durability. And a lot of guys think that when it comes to durability, all that matters is the thickness, the weight of the denim. To an extent, that is the most important factor, but there are many other ones you want to pay attention to. And when I say weight of the denim, if you're not familiar, there are all different, from basically 4 ounce to 16 ounce. Do you want to go with 16 ounce? No, I wouldn't recommend it, because that is going to be so thick and so heavy of a material that it's not going to be comfortable. In fact, most denim out there you're going to see is about 8, maybe 9 ounces. They have gone lighter over time. The original jeans, we go back 100 years, those were the really heavy ones, but they were also incredibly uncomfortable. They took years to break in if they ever did. I think you're going to see some of that raw denim out there. That's about 14 ounces. Point being is It really depends on what your needs are. As I was just talking with the sponsored doer, what I love is that they've got different types, for cold weather. They've got their warmer weather performance, lighter denim, and that's what I'm going to recommend. Look around for a company that actually has options for you and explains that, because if you live up north where it gets cold, you want to have something that's thicker, heavier, maybe with a little bit of fleece on the inside, or something that uses something that's going to stop the wind or stop the rain from entering the denim, and therefore they'll be more functional for you. Now, that's another aspect a lot of guys were asking about on the denim is, hey, I want it functional. So for denim to really be functional, it has to suit your needs. So you need to understand, okay, am I going to be working in this denim and am I going to be constantly throwing it in the wash, or am I going for something that I can wear? It's more of a fashion piece, something I'm not going to work in it too much. I'm going to be wearing it with a sports jacket. I do wear denim with sports jackets. So I know for me, I'm looking for something that fits well, has actually, not oversized features. I don't want a heavy boot cut wide at the bottom. I want something that's going to work with dress shoes, so the taper is going to go down. I also know that I want something fitting a little bit closer. I want something that's going to look like, from a distance, it could almost be dress pants, but when they get up close, they're going to see it's denim. It's going to have a little bit of a difference. Function depends on what you need to get from the denim. If you're going to be working in it every day, if you're going to be painting in that denim, you probably want to go with the cheaper pair that you'll be able to throw out. It's going to get torn up. You're going to get caught on nails and stuff, working on roofs, maybe do blue collar construction. But if you want something, again, that's going to be able to dress up, then you do want to spend a bit more money on it, because this is going to be denim that's going to retain its color even when it goes to the wash. It's going to be denim that's simply going to look better. It's going to have a tighter weave. All of that is going to go into the play of the style and the overall durability you'll get from it. Next up, let's talk quality. So quality is going to be different things to different people depending on what you need. But let's say for a guy that, again, is blue collar, working with his hands, for him, quality is going to be durability. It's going to be the number of stitches per inch on those seams that they've been reinforced, so that when he goes into a squat position to be able to nail something down, the back of his pants don't just rip right open. That's the kind of stuff you want to pay attention to. And that's where I do see people being loyal to certain brands. And again, it's a price value, that's where you got to measure it out. But one of the areas that is really overlooked is the type of cotton that is used. So cotton plant right here. And then right here, this is the sliver. This is going to be the length of the cotton strand. Now, this is important in shirts, and it's something that we pay attention to in dress shirts. Not so much, and it's harder to track in denim when it comes to the materials, but you want to make sure in the higher end companies are going to use a little bit longer of a sliver, and that sliver is going to be then woven into a yarn. When it's longer like that, it's going to be stronger. It's going to be more durable. It's going to be able to deal with just additional pressure. The point here, if you're paying more for your denim, you want to pay attention to the fabric and the materials. And I always think a great indicator is that they are telling you why they choose what they do. Nothing wrong with putting a bit of stretch in there. Nothing wrong with putting a bit of elastic in and mixing it in with the cotton, if they explain what the percentages are and why they do what they do. So what's the hack? Spotting great quality denim without having to tear it apart? Look at the inside. You want to pay attention to the finish. Look at the stitching. There shouldn't be loose stitching all over the place. Look at the material, the way it's basically built on the inside. A lot of companies that are cutting corners, they're not going to pay attention to the inside, but you want to go down and look at the cuffs. You want to flip this around. Okay, did they pay attention to the small details on the inside? If they did, that is a great sign, because they spent extra money there. Going and paying attention to all those small details, you can bet that they spent a little bit of extra money by using better materials. Now, what about sustainability? This one was interesting because it was the lowest on the list. And I get it. Everyone's looking out for their own selfish interests. We're going to put these other things. We're buying jeans because we want jeans, not because necessarily we want to save the planet. But if you can align this with a company that's doing great things, like today's sponsored doer, I think it's a great thing. And it's definitely worth looking at and trying to make sure that this company is they're doing things ethically. I think 20 years, it was harder. Nowadays, I think a lot of companies out there are actually lined up. They've got their ideals out there. Traceability is becoming more and more important. Exactly where the materials, where the cotton, where the thread, where everything is, where they're being manufactured. All this stuff is important. So pay attention to it, because we are stewards, for the next generation. Now, what about price? I know this one was actually number 5 on the list, and I felt that was high. Why? Well, yes, of course, we've all got a limited amount of money, but you should look at actually the true value of the jeans, how many times you're going to wear them, how you're going to feel wearing them. In fact, I've made this easy for you. Check out this value equation. Value is actually equal to the number of wears times the way it makes you feel divided by the price. Gents, this point is so key. So many guys go out there and they buy something on sale. You buy something that's cheap and they don't like it. They don't like the way it makes them feel or the way it makes them look. So they wear it maybe 10 times. Yeah, you paid $25. So what is that average? $2.50 per wear versus a pair, yes, that cost over $100. Let's say they cost $150. Well, guess what? You wear them 300 times. I mean, you just love those. You wear them until they have holes in them. The cost per wear was only 50 cents and you got a lot more value out of them. Pop quiz, gents. When it comes to shorts, which inseam length suits a man best? 9 inches, 7 inches, 5 inches, or maybe just 3 inches? And I'm sure some of you guys are saying, no, I need a full 11 inches because I was endowed with quite a manhood. The answer? Well, to be honest, gents, it was a trick question. Because in the right situation, every short inseam length can serve a purpose. Case in point, the 1-inch inseam Silkies, also known as Ranger panties. Now, Silkies come in a wide variety of styles and colors. As you can see right here, this pair is featuring St. Mattis of Quantico, but what they all have in common, comfort and freedom of movement. That's right, gents. Skies out, thighs out. Now, some of you guys are saying, hey, these aren't practical. Guys, here is proof. Firing 81mm mortars downrange in Silkies on a hot day, yeah, nothing like it. But seriously, gents, shorts come in a wide variety of styles, colors, and lengths. And in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to wear them properly. Now, in general, and we're talking about shorts that are above the knee, the shorter the shorts are, the more casual they are. So if you're going to be wearing shorts with a 3-inch, 2-inch, or 1-inch inseam, usually those are going to be swimming trunks or shorts meant to be worn as underwear. But for the vast majority of men, shorts that they would wear on a daily basis in public, 7 to 9 inch inseams are going to be where it's at. Now, how do you choose between the two? It's really about your height and your leg length. You see, proportion is what we're going for here. In general, the sweet spot is to cover 2/3 of the thigh. So for a man that's 6'2", a 9-inch inseam is probably going to get the job done. But for a man that's 5'2", he's going to want to look at a 5 to 7-inch inseam. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's take a step back and talk about the history of men's shorts. Now, shorts have been around for hundreds of years. In fact, as long as there have been trousers, there pretty much have been shorts. But seriously, they came about and they became part of uniform wear by the military in tropical regions during the 18th and 19th century. In the 1920s, we saw shorts popping up in swimwear. In the 1930s, in sportswear, specifically the tennis courts. Still, for most men prior to the 1950s, shorts were just too casual. In fact, it was something that boys wore, not men. However, in the 1960s and 70s, as sports gear became more common, as golf started to pick up, you just saw men wearing shorts more and more out. And especially here in North America, the United States, shorts by the 1970s and 80s had really taken hold. And although today in still many countries it's considered casual wear, shorts have really picked up, and it's hard not to travel the world and see somebody in shorts in hot weather, especially if they're in America. So now let's talk about styling those shorts. So you got 3 major shirt options here. You have the t-shirt, you have polo shirts, and you have casual button downs. Now, one thing I love about keeping your shorts simple is that you can wear a variety of t-shirts with this. That being said, if you want to make it look a little bit nicer, go for maybe a V-neck, go for a darker color. You can go for a monochromatic look there. But if you really want to step it up, look to the polo shirt. So polos are great. They've got 100 years of history in menswear, so it's a classic item, and that collar dresses it up. On top of that, they're incredibly comfortable, often made from a moisture-wicking material, and it just feels right with the short combination. Now, what about casual button-downs? Yes, you can pull this look off, and it looks best when you roll the sleeves. Some guys even go for the half tuck. If you're that fashion forward, what are you doing watching my videos? You should be helping me make them. But seriously, guys, I do think, and I've seen some great looks where they tuck in the shirt. Other guys leave it untucked. In general, though, if it has long tails, you're going to want to wear it tucked in. All right, so we got shirts. Now let's talk about your footwear. First up, the socks. Crew socks, you want to avoid in general. Ankle socks, fine if you're going to be wearing running shoes, running shorts, and you just want a little bit more coverage. But for the majority of situations, at least, this year and what the current fashion trends are, I really like no-show socks. And in case you're not familiar, quality no-show socks should actually have a bit of a stick, an elastic inside of them that adheres to the back of your heel. And if they keep slipping, if they keep disappearing down your foot, you need to get a better quality or better fit no-show. That being said, now let's get into shoes. So we talked about with athletic shoes, of course, you're going to be wearing running shoes or whatever your sporting event requires. Now, if you're heading to the beach, sandals are perfectly fine. I do like sandals over flip flip-flops. Flip-flops for me are just simply wearing right there at the situation. They really don't give you much traction. If you were to have to run or move around, yeah, you're going to be barefoot very quickly. At least sandals, you have a little bit of traction on them. And do not wear sandals with socks, guys. That combination, no. Come on. So what about sneakers? If you're in your 20s, 30s, I think they are an excellent option. If you're in your 40s or 50s and you're going to be walking throughout New York City, putting on 20 miles sightseeing, yeah, sure, wear sneakers. Maybe look to step it up a bit, especially if you're wearing that polo, that casual button down. Look at some leather sneakers. You got tons of options out there. That being said, if you're trying to dress up the shorts just a bit, should you go for, Oxfords? No. Go with loafers. If you're looking at dress shoes, go with the dress shoes that slip on and off, a classic pair of penny loafers, or maybe horsebit loafers. You got quite a few options out there. Find the loafers that work for you. Don't wear sandals with a suit. I know, it sounds obvious, but I know some of you guys have seen somebody try it. Keep your sandals clean and odor free. I know some of you guys are thinking, well, heck, I'm going to be wearing them outside. Gents, if they stink and you get in a vehicle with other people, yeah, it's an issue. Flip-flops are not meant for city walking. Seriously, if you're going to be out walking, there are so many better sandal options out there. Consider a style of footwear that actually protects the top of your feet. Gents, if your sandals make noise, they're fine for wearing around the house, but not out in public. I mean, if you're 7 and your shoes make noise, it's cute. If you're 27 and your shoes are making noise, yeah. Now, to start things off, there's the obvious mistake of wearing socks with sandals. Whether we're talking white socks, black socks, gents, in general, you shouldn't wear sandals with socks. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this rule. If you're an athlete, if you spend a lot of time in the gym, you want your feet to relax after a hard workout, guys, no problem throwing on some slides with socks and walking home. Or you're in your home and you keep the thermostat a bit low and you like those fuzzy socks, matching them with your slides. Again, nobody's seeing this, so that's fine. The next biggest mistake I see out there is men ignoring proper foot hygiene. Seriously, you're wearing sandals, everyone can see your toes, and your nails have a green fungus growing on them. Now, I get it. You're a great guy, and we should all look past that black stuff between your toes. But the reality is your date, she's trying to eat her food, and when she sees your toes, she's going to spit that meal out. But seriously, gents, take care of your feet. Take care of your nails. Make sure that they're clean. Am I saying go get a pedicure? No, but you know what? Getting one feels really darn good. The obvious reality, gents, is when you wear sandals, people are able to see parts of your body that they weren't before. So if you're going to make these parts visible, you are responsible for making sure that you at least have good hygiene with those parts of your body. The next big style mistake I see a lot of guys making with sandals is wearing it with the wrong type of clothing. Now, here in a few minutes, I'm going to talk about the 9 different styles of sandals and how to style them, but understand that sandals in general are going to be casual wear. This means for any situation that's a bit formal, dressy, or it requires conservative wear, sandals are going to be a no-go. Now, if you've been invited to an event and you're not sure of the dress code, it sounds casual, a company picnic, simply ask. Finding out the dress code is the easiest way to make sure you're dressed appropriate. Now, if they don't have a dress code or you're new to the company, you don't really have anyone that you can speak to that can give you inside intel, then in this case, give yourself options. Maybe wear something that's a little bit dressier with the option to bring additional clothing to change. So you show up in loafers and no-show socks, but you've got sandals in the car. If you notice, hey, people are actually getting in the pool at this pool party. Now, the next mistake, wearing the wrong clothing with sandals, I see happen all the time. But in general, I do not think, and I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, that jeans should ever be paired with sandals. There are some exceptions, but I know some of you guys go like, Antonio, that's a bunch of BS. I love wearing my jeans with sandals. No, I think shorts, tropical weight wool trousers, there's so many better options out there. And last but not least, when it comes to our mistakes, wearing the wrong style sandals. But what are your options? So first up, let's define exactly what sandals are. So a sandal is a type of footwear characterized by an open design that leaves most of the foot exposed. They typically consist of a sole, which is held to the wearer's foot by straps or thongs that pass over the instep and sometimes around the ankle. Now, sandals are made from a wide variety of materials. You're going to see leather, you're going to see synthetic, you're going to see rubber, textiles, and combinations that include all of the above. And historically speaking, they're perhaps the oldest form of footwear. In fact, they found a pair in a cave in Oregon, which dated back over 10,000 years. So at this point, let's get into the 9 styles. And let's start this off with flip-flops. Also known as thong sandals, flip-flops consist of a flat sole that's loosely held onto the foot by a Y-shaped strap. Now, when it comes to sandals and levels of formality and style, flip-flops are pretty much at the bottom. That being said, men and women still love them because of their simplicity and functionality, especially when you're on the beach. So easy to clean. Flip-flops have a place in every man's wardrobe. Next up, we've got slide sandals, also just known as slides. Now, slides are backless, open-toed footwear with a band or multiple straps across the center. They're often made from rubber, leather, or synthetic materials. Over the last couple of decades, they've become very popular because of their laid-back look. And that's exactly how people use them for lounging or non-intensive athletic wear. Next up, we got fisherman sandals. And as the name implies, these were originally developed for a man that spends a lot of time on boats or in wet areas, and they wanted a piece of footwear that could give them traction, protect them from the sharp rocks, but at the same time would be able to deal with the elements. They had closed toes and heels, but cutouts for the draining of water. Now, historically, they were made from leather. Nowadays, you'll find them in synthetic materials, and they were popular because they actually provided a bit of protection of the upper part of the foot. Next up, we've got gladiator sandals, and this style actually does go back to the 8th century BC, and we saw not just gladiators, but just Roman soldiers and, regular people wearing these throughout the Roman Empire. Originally, they were made from leather and they laced up the ankle, and that is the key characteristic that distinguishes this type of sandals from others. Nowadays, you're going to find them made from a variety of different materials, but in general, it's going to be the straps around the ankles, sometimes just around the ankle, not going up very high, that is going to distinguish it from the other types of sandals out there. Next up, we've got huaraches, and this goes back even to pre-Columbian times. So nowadays, it's considered a traditional Mexican sandal, but yeah, this thing goes back thousands of years, even older than the Roman gladiator sandals, and a lot of people like these because they do offer a level of protection. That being said, with that protection, they had excellent ventilation and they could be made from a variety of materials. They were a very functional piece of footwear that a man or a woman could wear in hot weather and be able to get work done. Next up, let's talk about espadrilles. And you could argue that these technically aren't a sandal, but when I look at the design, the overall build, I'm going to lump them in there. A lot of guys haven't heard of these. Now, they come from 14th century Spain, so they've been around a long time. And what I love, if you're not familiar with the Lindy effect, the longer something has been around, the longer it's probably going to be around in the future. So you could pick yourself up a pair of timeless espadrilles. And what I like about these, compared to all the other sandals, this is something you could actually dress up with some nice wool trousers. I think it's actually a pretty good look. Maybe with a button-down casual shirt, this would be a great combination. Now, traditionally, they were made from an Esperado rope, and you're going to find the canvas top that these really don't contain a lot of leather, which actually makes them very cool, very lightweight. But espadrilles are one of those, actually, I recommend you always buy high quality. Espadrilles, maybe not, because this is one of those seasonal pieces of footwear. I see a lot of people actually buy it and they dispose of them after 1 or 2 seasons because they do actually fall apart. That being said, you get a new pair that look good. I don't know, anyone that had different experience with espadrilles, most of the ones I've owned, and it's been a while, they just seem to fall apart over time. Next up, we've got sports sandals, and as the name implies, these are specifically designed for outdoor activities. Rugged, durable, and oftentimes waterproof. And what I mean, like the water's still going to get into a lot of these, but they are made to actually, whether it be salt water, fresh water, these are made to be able to take a licking, take the elements, and they're going to be resistant to water damage. They've also got typically adjustable straps, usually like a Velcro or some type of material like that, sometimes a buckle. But again, these are made to be able to be very durable in adverse conditions. Now, occasionally you will see sports sandals made with some leather. I would say avoid it, especially if you're going to be, wearing these in a lot of water. What you may already know about leather is it will absorb water, and when it loses the water, it dries out. Actually, a little bit more moisture normally leaves the leather, and that's why it oftentimes dries, cracks, and just starts to fall apart. Next up, let's talk about mules. Now, mules for many people are going to be a type of shoe, but I'm going to lump them in with sandals because you'll sometimes see them open-toed, but in general, they're going to have a front leather strap covering that front part of the foot with nothing in the back, so mules can slip on and slip off. Often made from a leather or synthetic material, sometimes you're going to see them even made from suede. Of all of the different types of sandals out there, mules seem to, have a special place for some people as being a little bit dressier, although again, they are casual. In addition, I want to point out that for men, mules are not that popular. They're more of a women's type of shoe, but you will see styles for men. So if you're more a fashion forward guy, you really think you can pull off the look, go for it. And of course, let's not forget Birkenstocks. Now, if you know your footwear, you'll know that this sandal is a particular brand, but it became synonymous with the style that it made so popular. And that style is a contoured cork footbed, a buckle strap, and a durable rubber sole. Now, traditionally, they were made from leather, but recently we've seen them them made from a number of vegan materials as well. And as many of you guys know, because you're probably part of the cult, they've got a following like no other. And a lot of these guys are the ones that violate the dress codes because they're wearing Birkenstocks to events they probably shouldn't be. So how to look good in sandals? What to pair with them. So if you're wearing flip-flops, perhaps the most casual style of sandal you're going to see out there, flip-flops can be worn with swim trunks, board shorts, and with that, like tank tops, casual tees. Yeah, if you're looking for an ultra casual summer outfit to be able to wear to the beach, flip-flops are where it's at. In addition, if you got plastic flip-flops, if you are in the men's locker room, and you don't want to get any nasty fungus on your toes, then wear them into the shower. Now, slide sandals are a step up from flip-flops, and you can wear them in all the same situations, going to the beach, wearing them into the shower, casually around your house, maybe even to the grocery store. Nope, I'm kidding there. I would rather see you step it up, wear a pair of Birkenstocks to the grocery store. Now, Birkenstocks, because of their history and maybe the simple, clean design, I do think they work great, even if you're wearing chino shorts with, a collared, polo shirt. That combination right there would be perfectly fine to wear to the grocery store. Just don't wear socks with that, right? And getting back to the subject of jeans, I know some of you guys are like, Antonio, I wear jeans with my Birkenstocks. If that is you, let me know in the comments below and why you think this is a good combination. Me personally, I try to stay away from it. Next up, gladiator sandals. In general, shorts are where it's at. You can wear them with casual shorts. I wouldn't really wear them with swimsuits. Take a little bit of time to get off. Go with the flip-flops with that. But if you're going to be wearing a shirt, like a casual t-shirt, again, get the right pair. Don't make sure they're not going too far up the calf. If you're into gladiator sandals, you got a great pair. Just let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear the brand that you chose. But yeah, this type of style of sandal, I don't really think suits most men. You really got to know what you're doing here. That being said, fisherman sandals, I think you've got a lot more leeway. So fisherman sandals, especially if they are made from a nice material, and I'm talking a leather that is cleaned up, not made from a synthetic that just doesn't look bad. Now, if you got a nice pair of fisherman sandals, I think wearing these with tropical weight wool trousers, shorts, I see a lot of these out there that look really good. So tons of options if you look around. But yeah, fisherman sandals, I think can look good on the right foot. And because they better cover up, they still give ventilation. I think you got some good options here. And the same thing with huaraches and even espadrilles. I think that if you've got the right style, again, I know that they come from very humble backgrounds, but a lot of times you see just men of leisure that are wearing a collared shirt, maybe a linen shirt, nice wool trousers, and then they've got a pair with a little bit of color, a little bit of style. Either one of these styles right here, espadrilles, huaraches, you get the right pair made from maybe a canvas or a fabric material. This is going to be, in my opinion, one of the more stylish pieces of casual sandal-like footwear you can find out there. So where does that leave us with mules? Mules in general, I think that they're really hard for men to pull off. They just make most men's feet look too large and clumsy. That being said, if you were to force me to wear mules, what would I wear them with? I would probably go with some casual trousers. Lightweight, something for summer. Especially when they cover the toe, they don't look good with shorts. There's just something, you really got to know what you're doing. The strap can't be too thick. Yeah. That's the only way I'd wear mules. And of course, sports sandals, as the name implies, wear them when you're going to be out on a boat, you're going to be kayaking, you are going to be using them for sport. Now guys, really quick, a lot of guys make a mistake. They think that just watching a video like this on YouTube is somehow going to make them an expert. Straight up, gents, you have to take this information and put it into action. And one of the best ways to motivate yourself to take action is to put yourself in a community, in a group of like-minded warriors, taking steps to improve their image, their presence, their presentation, and you can find all of that over at our community at school.com/RMRS. Over in our school community, we've got detailed classes, we host challenges, and you can meet and engage with like-minded men taking steps on a daily basis to become their best self. So gents, instead of saying someday, how about you say day one and join our community? I'm putting the link down in the description, in the comments, or you can just go directly to school.com/RMRS. So I'm in Tokyo, out shopping with 3 teenagers. FBI, open up! Wait a minute, that doesn't sound appropriate. Let me clarify. I'm out shopping with my kids and nephew, and somehow we end up in a bathing ape store. Earlier, we had stopped in a number of other stores to include streetwear like Supreme, but I have to admit, I wasn't really impressed. Bathing Ape, on the other hand, man, this place was rocking. From the shoes that were moving underneath my feet to the clothing and accessories all over the store. They knew how to use color and, maybe not my taste, but I definitely saw what the hype was about. That being said, I couldn't help but notice they had a great selection of hoodies. Now, I didn't end up up buying one because I'm more of a classic style kind of guy. But it did get me thinking about this classic menswear item and how so many guys pull it off incorrectly. And yes, I did say classic because the hoodie in its current interpretation has actually been in men's wardrobes for over 100 years. And hooded garments themselves have been in men's wardrobes for over 1,000 years. So how does a man wear a hoodie and look good? Mistake number one, not even knowing what a hoodie is. So I know some of you guys are classic style guys and you will never wear or own a hoodie. But here's the thing, the company Champion brought the hoodie to the masses back in the 1930s. Yeah, it started off as sportswear, but it was quickly adopted by the masses, especially the working men on the East Coast who were wearing these simple, inexpensive garments to stay warm as they worked warehouses in New York. Now, by definition, a hoodie is a garment typically made of cotton or blended fabric that has a hood attached. It can either be a pullover or have a front and zipper or button closure. Its primary purpose is to keep the wearer warm. However, in the last 60 years, it's become a significant style icon. Mistake number two, not understanding how versatile the hoodie can be. Seriously, you can wear it on its own. It comes in a wide variety of styles, colors, and materials, and you can even dress it up. In fact, since the 1980s, companies like Tommy Hilfiger and Ralph Lauren brought high-quality hoodies to the masses that could actually even be worn with blazers. Yes, it can be done. You got to get the fit right. You got to have the right material. But I do think, yeah, if you own the company, if you are working in a creative field, you can pull this look off. Now, a lot of people, whether they know it or not, they associate the hoodie with the 1960s and 70s. That's when we saw this piece of clothing become a counterculture symbol. Various anti-establishment groups wore hoodies. In addition, you saw artists coming out of hip hop wearing hoodies as if it was part of their uniform. This all of a sudden became a staple in the music industry. Companies like Adidas started putting out quite a few hoodies, and all of a sudden this became the uniform of street culture. All of a sudden, graffiti artists, people that we would see on the streets wearing these Adidas hoodies everywhere. So how do you dress a hoodie up? How do you dress it down? So first up, the graphics. Next up, it's going to be the material, and then you want to pay attention to fit. So if you're going to be going for something that is going to be more streetwear, you can expect that there's going to be more graphics. Oftentimes the material is going to be made from cotton, although you're seeing a wider variety of different materials used in streetwear, but really this is where it's going to be made to shine on its own. The idea of a hoodie in this context is it allows the wearer to express their individuality. They're able to do this through color, through design, through unique and limited issue runs of particular types of clothing that only people in a select group are going to have access to. Casual hoodies like this are oftentimes going to come from the fashion world, so we're also going to see extremes. Occasionally, you're going to see oversized hoodies, hyper attention grabbing details and accents on the hoodie itself, and in general, the hoodie is made to be an outer worn garment in these situations. Hoodies that you can dress up, on the other hand, are often going to be in muted colors that are going to make them easy to match. They also are going to be made in premium materials. Believe it or not, and I have one in my closet that my wife apparently has stolen, cashmere hoodies are out there, and I think they're absolutely beautiful, especially when they fit your body well. And yes, you can wear them with a blazer. That being said, man-made materials, especially polyesters, mixing in with a bit of spandex, can give a very nice, actually almost cotton-like look. It's going to be a little bit more sleek, and it's not going to be as heavyweight. That's another thing about dressier hoodies, is they're oftentimes made to fit a little bit closer to the body so that you can layer over them. And when it comes to graphics and accents on these higher end hoodies, they're going to keep it muted in general. So it's all about the other clothing. The hoodie is just going to be there in support. Now, sports hoodies are going to fit the in-between. Again, these are going to come from Champion, from Adidas. Tons of brands are making them. This one right here, pretty much a sports jersey made from cotton. These are going to be a little bit heavier, a little bit bulkier. They're made to be worn looser as well. You will see these in streetwear. You will see them guys trying to wear, a sports jacket with them. I don't think they're great for sports jackets. They're a little bit too casual, the material, but these are also going to be some of the most affordable options out there. And if you're just getting started into hoodies, it's probably the best place to start. Now, the next mistake a lot of guys make is they buy the wrong sized hoodie. Now, that sounds like a stupid mistake, but you got to think, how am I going to wear this? Am I going to be wearing this in layers? Am I accounting for shrinkage? And what type of body type do I have? What's my personal preference for wearing a hoodie? Now, with layering, the key here is, are you going to try to dress this up? Are you going to wear jackets over this? In that case, you want it to fit a little bit closer so that you're not going to have all this excess material. And let's not forget shrinkage. So most quality brands, you're not going to experience much, even if you throw it in a hot dryer. But certain materials, especially cashmere, those luxury materials, you cannot wash it normally. You need to know how to take care, send it off to the dry cleaners, unfortunately, or you can wash it at home, very delicate. But if you're buying a 100% cotton hoodie, you need to know that first up, yes, when you do expose it to heat, it's going to shrink. Cotton just naturally does that. And over time you will start to see this material fade, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Now I mentioned body type, but yeah, if you're a larger guy, you want a hoodie that isn't going to be stretching anywhere, isn't going to be showing that extra bit you're carrying around the midsection. If you're a thinner guy, you want a hoodie that, isn't going to have a trim cut to it, but isn't going to have so much excess material, a strong wind catches you and blows you over. Now, when I'm looking to buy a hoodie, I first want to make sure that it fits in the shoulders. You want to make sure your shoulder points are on point. And despite this being one of the easiest things to do when you try on the hoodie, so many guys don't look for it, or they end up buying a hoodie whose shoulder points are going down their arm. Again, if you're going for the oversized look, this can work, but I think for most guys in most situations, they want to have a hoodie that fits them properly in the shoulders. Next up, we've got the chest and stomach area. I like to have about 2 to 3 inches of excess material in the chest or stomach area. Now, a quick test here is the fist test, and you simply just take your hand and you grab a fist full of material. That's going to be about 2 to 3 inches for most of us. Now, if you can barely grab any material or you're grabbing 2 fistfuls, you may want to size up or size down. And again, this depends on your size. If you're 5'2", 120 pounds, you are going to want less material versus if you're 6'8", 350 pounds, you're going to want more material. Now, when it comes to the sleeves, I like for my arms to be able to go down, fully cover the wrist bone. And then when I move my arms up, it should just barely cover the wrist bone. If it goes out way too far, then you're going to have material bunching up, and you will find some brands just simply make the sleeves too long for some of us. Now, I can see different types of wrist cuffs out there, but if you've got rib cuffs, you want to make sure they're not so tight that they're leaving marks on your wrists. And don't forget to try the hoodie itself on. I remember years ago I bought a hoodie and I could barely get it up over my head. It was strange. Still, you're going to find some other brands that make their hoodies oversized. And the problem with that is it can throw off the proportions, and if you ever want to layer it, it's just going to look off. As for length, I always like to see it right below the belt line. I do like an elastic around the bottom of the hoodie. Not all of them are going to have it. And if you raise your arms up, I don't like to expose my midsection. Some of you guys, it depends on personal preference, but yeah, I never think it's a good look. Now, what are some really common mistakes I see guys making when they're wearing a hoodie? Probably the first one is that they're wearing a hoodie that is past its prime. They loved it and they've worn it maybe 20, 50, 100 times, whatever it is. They've washed it after every wear, but it is fading. It's falling apart. I get it if it's a work hoodie. Then in that case, yeah, keep wearing it. But if you're wearing it as a go-to daily staple, you want to be careful of wearing something beyond its ability to look good. Now, I talked about the different materials: cotton, polyester, fleece. You're going to see cashmere. You're even going to see some velvet hoodies out there. I would say when it comes to those higher end materials, especially cashmere, that's going to be for your dress hoodies. And in this case, you do not wash it after every wear. Treat it like a sweater. You'll wear it multiple times. You're going to wear clothing underneath to protect it, so in case you sweat. But a hoodie like this is something you're going to take very good care of it. It's a delicate piece of clothing. Now, fleece hoodies, polyester hoodies, these are going to do some of the best for actually maintaining their look. And that's because they're using synthetic materials. They do an excellent job of oftentimes retaining the dye, especially the polyester ones or the fleece ones. Those can look really, really casual, and they often don't look as high end. I know a lot of people, they wear them more for function than they do for fashion, but I do think for a functional piece, actually fleece can do an excellent job of insulating. So if you want something for the winter that's going to get the job done, you want something to be able to wear to the work side, then fleece is probably a good option. Now, I did mention polyester, especially when mixed with spandex or other materials. I think these performance materials have come a long way. I see tons of brands coming out, and I've got a few that are, yes, made from polyester, but they look really nice. Am I going to be dressing them up with a sports jacket? Probably not, but they definitely are ones that I can wear independent of you, just simply with a pair of jeans and a pair of boots, and they look good. And I found that polyester does a pretty good job of not fading. Cotton, on the other hand, unfortunately, especially if it's a lower end cotton, which we see even some of the higher end companies, and this is where I wish I could tell you, that I knew exactly which companies we're using. Not always the best cotton, but unfortunately, that information changes every single year. I would say go in and just simply touch it, feel it. And you guys, if you have something to add in today's video, I would love to hear from down in the comments what your favorite hoodie brands are. Why do you like them? What do you wear? Guys, I really appreciate learning about more brands. I've only got a few, maybe a dozen that I've explored personally. And who knows, maybe I'll make a video in the future in which I'll buy a ton of hoodies and I will run them through the gauntlet and try to find the best. But I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments what your favorite brands are and why. Another mistake I see is the overuse of the kangaroo pocket. So the kangaroo pocket, as the name implies, that's the pouch that you've got there in the front. And sometimes guys just overstuff it. Now that's great if it's a work hoodie and you're using it for work. But if it's something that you want to be able to wear out, you want something to look good, you want to be careful about overextending that pocket, eventually creating a hole or a tear, just really looking like it's overused, because it ruins the silhouette of the hoodie and it makes it look like you got a little bit of a pouch right there in the front of you. Next up, let's talk about graphics. So if you go back to the 1990s, this is really where you saw the use of graphics really pick up in hoodies. And you've got guys, like Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G. These guys really brought it to the forefront, and they did an amazing job with their looks, creating these type of brands, these styles, this type of fashion. Nowadays though, what I see at least trending in 2023 is that graphics are getting tuned down a bit. Now, some people are still going to make it work. And again, if you are this fashion forward that you know how to pull it off, what are you doing watching my video? You should be making videos. But I think for the majority of you guys, if you just want something that's interchangeable, something that you're going to be able to keep and wear for years, go with something that's really muted and make sure any of the logos or the graphics are relatively small. Again, the exception would be if you're big into streetwear, and in that case, well, I probably don't have much to teach you. Now, what about ironing a hoodie? I don't think you need to, and most hoodies I own, even the cotton ones, within a few minutes of wearing, usually my own heat actually kind of seems to get rid of any wrinkles. But if you own a steamer, if you have a hoodie that seems to stay wrinkled, maybe it's made from a bit of linen or something like that, which they are out there, summer hoodies like that, just run a steamer over it. I think that will do a great job. Another added benefit of a steamer is it's like a micro cleaning, so you're going to be able to go longer without having to throw that thing into the wash. And that's another mistake I see a lot of guys make with their hoodies, is they're washing them way too often. If you wear that hoodie for an hour and you don't sweat in it, you've got a shirt that, an undershirt that you're wearing underneath it, I don't think you could take that thing off, hang it right back in your closet. If you're going to hang it in your closet, make sure that you've got a hanger with nice, 2 to 3 inch shoulders on it so it doesn't leave any divots in there, or fold it up, put it in your closet. Point being is you don't have to wash a hoodie after every wear. That being said, if you wear the hoodie for an hour and you're out working, sweating, you get dirt all over it, of course, you're going to throw that into the wash. My point here is that your clothing only has so many lives. So imagine it's a video game. You got 30 lives. So every time you throw it in the wash, you lose one of those lives. Because if you ever check the lint collector, where's all that lint coming from? It's coming from your clothing. It is slowly tearing apart your clothing when you wash it in a washer. So if you really want something to last, hand wash it. If you don't want to be hand washing, then don't run things through the dryer, let them air dry. And if you've ever heard of spot cleaning, this is where you just identify the area of the garment where it got dirty, you clean that, you let it dry, and then you wear it again. Next up, let's talk about overlayering. So in general, when I'm wearing a hoodie, I don't like to wear a collared shirt underneath. For me, it's a bit too casual. Although there are going to be some V-neck hoodies that you could still pull off that look. Not really to my liking. I'm usually going to wear an undershirt that I could wear even a long sleeve like a Henley or something like that. So wearing 2 shirts underneath, especially during the winter, I find does an excellent job of keeping me insulated. But where I think most people mess it up is not what they're wearing under the hoodie, but actually what they're wearing on top. And again, as we talked about earlier, this is where you want to make sure you get the hoodie to actually fit you properly, because if you find that you're having trouble moving your arms, it's difficult to get your jacket on and off, or you're trying to wear a thinner jacket that's going to fit closer and the hoodie's causing it all to bunch up, don't even try. Layering is a bit of an art. I've got a whole other video, which I will link to down in the description of today's video, talking about layering, but there is a key to actually making sure the fit is right on those undergarments that you're trying to put the overgarment on. The next mistake is wearing a hoodie in a situation in which, honestly, it doesn't belong. So I compared the hoodie to the sweater. It's not at the same level as a V-neck sweater when it comes to layering. That being said, if it's your party, if you own the company, if you are in a position of power, you can pretty much wear it whatever you want. No one's going to say anything. But I do think a hoodie has not yet transcended to being able to wear in a business environment, again, unless you own the startup or you're out there. But if you're asking for money, I do think that you should dress appropriately in a way, if you're going into a bank, so that they trust you. Not necessarily, I get it, you want to express yourself, you probably got other pieces in your wardrobe, because in general, hoodies are casual, and most people do still view them as coming out of streetwear. That's where they dominate, and for a lot of people, this isn't a garment that works well when you want to dress up. So now let's hit some frequently asked questions. First up, should you tuck in your hoodie? So if you're really fashion forward, you want to do that front tuck, maybe you can make it work. I would say for the vast majority of us mere mortals, avoid tucking in your hoodie. Look for an elastic on the bottom. You don't want it to go too far down. You never want it to go past the buttocks. You want the hoodie to fit you well, not to be, super long. I think wearing the hoodie untucked is the best way to go. Can you wear a hoodie to work? Again, depends on the job, depends on the dress code, depends on your position in the company. Now, even if your company doesn't have a dress code, they do have a dress code, because otherwise you could show up naked and you don't. Point being is look around. Are people dressing casually? And again, now you've got all the different types of hoodies at your disposal. If it's a super creative company, of course you can wear pretty much anything. They're going to probably appreciate that you bring a bit of flair, a bit of fun to your style, and you're going to put together a great outfit. But if it's a pretty conservative company, you may want to be careful. Again, you could wear a slim fit cashmere hoodie, put a blazer over it, especially maybe if you're in the IT field, you're on the creative team, maybe you're the founder of the company, you're a coder. I think you can find a way to make it work. Should my hoodie match my pants? I wouldn't say match your pants, but I would look to complement your pants. Now, the easiest type of trousers here are going to be jeans, but any type of pants that you've got in your wardrobe, if it works with a particular color of shirt, it's probably going to work with that color of hoodie. And I did start off by saying, if you're just introducing hoodies to your wardrobe, look to go with a neutral palette. These are going to be hoodies in black, gray, blue, brown, dark green. Keep it solid, avoid a lot of graphics. You're going to find that these are going to work with a lot of the casual pairs of trousers. I really like wearing hoodies with maybe performance pants. You can also wear them with chinos, and I think they look perfectly fine. What about shorts and hoodies? Yes, it's possible to pull this look off, especially if you're in California. Not just kidding. Anyone that, I like wearing shorts, and I get it. Some nights you're just cooler. Hey, I keep a hoodie in the vehicle because my wife gets cold. I get cold sometimes, and it's pretty versatile, just as versatile as a sweater, sometimes more versatile in different situations. I think the key here is to understand that if you're wearing shorts, we're going for a casual look. So this isn't ever something you can really dress up. Some people I know wear blazers with shorts. You guys down in Bermuda, I salute you. But trying to mix a hoodie in with that, yeah, not going to happen. How do I style a sleeveless hoodie? So the first tip to styling a sleeveless hoodie is to actually have the guns to support it. Seriously, a garment like this is going to draw attention to the arms. So you want to make sure that you've got nice arms, that you are fit. The worst thing you can do here is, and this applies to any type of vest, is to wear this and just simply it makes your arms look even skinnier. So if you've got that covered, you could wear this with sport pants, you can wear this with joggers, even shorts, and underneath you'd have like a layered tee. So you do want to make sure you've got a shirt on in general underneath a hoodie, because it's just going to protect your hoodie, and you won't have to wash it as often because you're going to sweat and that shirt will catch it, and it's just a smart thing to do. Gents, when it comes to men's casual style, a great fitted Henley is a secret weapon. Understated, adaptable, and quietly powerful, this classic casual garment whispers, I don't need to try to look good. I just get the details right. Now, as many of you guys know, the Henley takes its name from the city Henley-on-Thames. It's a beautiful riverside town 37 miles west of London, famous for its annual Royal Regatta. Now, back in the 1800s, when the regatta just started, the rowers would wear a simple collarless pullover shirt. It had a short button placket down the front, and it was relatively lightweight, breathable, and kept the rowers a lot cooler than wearing a collared uniform. And by the way, for over 50 years, these rowing shirts were basically nameless. For these rowers, it was just practical athletic wear. In fact, the shirt style was considered by many just to be a form of underwear, until the company Ralph Lauren rebranded it as outerwear, as a shirt you could wear by itself. Let's talk about why the Henley is so great for the fall. First up, it's the perfect midweight layer. Between the t-shirt and between the sweater or a hoodie, you've got the Henley. It's long sleeves, soft material, and relatively lightweight. All this makes it ideal for transitional weather. Next up, it's got a masculine silhouette. So the placket right here draws the eyes vertically up to the face and draws a bit of attention to the chest. Also, when you get the right fit, it should fit snugly around the arms and the shoulders, and if you've got the guns, shows them off. And depending on the material, you could also use the Henley to bring in some texture. Look for waffle, ribbed, or brushed cotton knits. Any one of those can bring in texture and depth into an outfit. And last but not least, the Henley is a layering powerhouse. It can work as a base, mid, or even top layer. Depending on the fit, you can wear it a little bit closer, you can wear it a little bit looser, you can dress it up, you can dress it down, depending on the combination. So then, how do you style and layer a Henley? Well, let me give you some options. So first up, a simple combination right here, you're going to be wearing the Henley with jeans or a pair of chinos. Now when it comes to color, you can pretty much go with anything black or navy, an easy choice for most guys. White or cream if you want that top to pop. And there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of contrast between that top and bottom, especially if you're in shape or you're a thinner guy. But if you carry a little bit more weight around the midsection, maybe go for a more monochromatic look, like a black long sleeve Henley with dark denim. And for the boots, keep it simple. A pair of Chelseas in a dark color working with the denim, or a dark brown with those chinos. And if it gets warm, you can still wear the long sleeve. Just simply roll up the sleeves a bit, boom, show off the forearms, you're good to go. Next up, take that same look and layer over it an overshirt or a flannel. Right here, as you can see, I've got my black Henley underneath. On top of that, I've got a buffalo plaid flannel, which, by the way, you can pick up at Kufandi at an amazing price. Again, guys, that's why I like this sponsor. So go check them out. I will link to them down in the description. But seriously, gents, an easy combination. And if I wanted something maybe with a bit more contrast, I could go with a lighter color, maybe a cream, or even bring in a red if I wanted something brighter. The point is, this combination in the fall just works. Next up, throw on a leather jacket. Now, you don't have to go black and black like I've got here, but if you decide to, what's great about this is it's the difference in texture. So it's not going to be, yes, it's going to be overall a monochromatic look, but the Henley is still going to be noticeable because of the fabric, because of the material. And yeah, overall, a nice, clean, casual look that works with the aforementioned trouser types. You can go with dark denim, you can go with chinos. And if you're going to be wearing a leather jacket, yeah, definitely have some leather boots. Now, what about with a sports jacket? You know, if it's unstructured, if it's casual pattern, and you pair it with a pair of gray flannels, moleskins, or even chinos, I don't know, I think if you get the colors right, if you've got the confidence to pull off this look, then go for it. But under a cardigan or a classic jacket sweater, you know, yeah, I can see this combination working really easy. And again, a lot of guys don't even have something like this in their wardrobe, so I can create a separate video if you guys would like. Just let me know down in the comments. But yeah, gents, the layering combinations here really easy. And to me, because of the placket, the buttoning right there in the front, the Henley is such a step up from a long sleeve t-shirt. You're able to pull it off with items like this and create looks that are fun, are casual, perfect for fall. Now, when you're looking to buy the perfect Henley, what are you looking for? Well, first up, fit. You want it to fit relatively close to the body. Maybe sometimes you're going to wear an undershirt under this. I find that this is usually for me going to be the base layer, or it's going to be right over an undershirt. And because of that, I want something that fits relatively close in the chest area, in the torso, a little bit looser than I would like my t-shirt. And when it comes to sling length, when my arms are down, it should be at my wrist bone. When I put my arms up like this, I should expose my watch, but not too much more. When it comes to the placket, I like between 2 and 4 buttons. 3 buttons right here, about perfect. Which, by the way, I pretty much always button at least one of the buttons. Sometimes if I want it to look a little bit more, you know, buttoned up, I'll go for 2. And I know some of you guys are probably going to disagree with me, but I never button them all the way up. Anyone out there like to button their Henley all the way up? Again, let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. Oh, and try to avoid any flashy, big logos with a high contrast. If they're going to have it, make sure it's hidden. But yeah, unless you're getting paid, really try to go for something that's simple, clean, and timeless. And what about color? What are the easy ones to wear, to mix, match? So charcoal gray and black, in my opinion, are the easiest ones to mix and match. Next up, if you want something a bit more casual, something's going to bring a bit of pop, go for the whites or creams. Now, after those colors, if you find that you are wearing the Henley out and about and you love them, well, that's when you want to pick up colors like navy, olive, burgundy, brown, or other dark shades of blue. All right, gents, what are your thoughts on the popped collar? What do you think? And it was further reinforced by the advertising materials of Ralph Lauren and Lacoste. The pop collar became big with pop culture as it was featured in movies and on television. Now in the 2000s, we saw the resurgence of this trend as what was popular in the 80s and 90s started to make a comeback. However, during this time period, it was a bit exaggerated, and this is when we started to see the multiple collar look, which for the record, I do not recommend. So is popping your collar a fashion faux pas or a sign of style confidence? Well, knowing the history and the functional aspect, if you're using it in that way, go for it. Before we get into colors, patterns, or matching your polo, let's talk about the importance of fit. Gents, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Fit is king. An expensive polo that doesn't fit you properly is not going to look nearly as good as an inexpensive one that fits your body right. Now, there are reasons you want to go with a higher quality polo shirt, but in general, do not buy anything that doesn't fit your body properly. Now, the key fit points here are going to be shoulders, chest, and torso. Length matters as well. Polos can be shortened, although I recommend you just buy one off the rack that fits you properly, but they can't be lengthened. Another key area is the fit in the sleeve. Now, the biggest mistake I see a lot of guys making here is they don't understand all the different styles available to them when it comes to polos. Now, the first polos were made from a knitted cotton. This gave them a bit of stretch and breathability. And as mentioned earlier, polos had collars, but they were soft collars, unlike the rigid collars found on dress shirts in the 1920s and 30s. Traditionally, polos also had 3 buttons in the front, although nowadays you're going to see variations from 1 to up to 5 buttons, 3 still being the most common. Now, at the bottom of the polo shirt, the hem, we see most often a split hem. You're also going to see ribbed knit hems out there as well. Now, these details may seem small, but understanding you've got these options when it comes to polos can ensure you find the style that best suits your body type. So for me, a relatively thin guy with a bit of a dad bod, I'd have to say the rib knit cuff along with the hem actually really works with my body type. It's a really nice tailored fit, but it's got a little bit of extra room in the stomach area. And for me personally, I love the look. So now let's talk about colors. And the biggest mistake I see a lot of guys make here is they don't find the colors that make them look absolutely amazing. I get it. You've got your standby colors, but if you can find a color that works with your complexion, that works with your eye color, that works with your natural colors, if you can find that color, that shirt is going to get you compliments every time you wear it. And I know some of you guys don't care about compliments, but for the rest of us, it's a nice ego boost. It feels good. Now, to make this simple, I'm going to show you by season which colors you want to be checking out. So for spring, a great color is going to be light blue. You maybe want to check out the pastels as well. These are colors like mint green, soft pink, and lavender. White is going to be another classic choice, versatile, and you can actually wear it year-round. Now with summer colors, this is where you want to bring in the brighter colors. Bold colors like turquoise, coral, and yellow are excellent for summer. If you want to go with something darker, navy blue is a solid option here. Stripes and small repeating patterns are also a great option here, and of course, white. Now with fall, this is when you want to lean towards earth tones. Olive green, mustard yellow, burnt orange. If you want something deep and rich, consider the color burgundy. And with winter, this is when you go with the deep, rich colors: charcoal, navy, forest green, black, maroon, and heather gray. Now, a related mistake I see a lot of guys make here is they don't know which colors are going to be the most versatile. Well, the easy options here are to go with the neutrals. As the name implies, these will go with pretty much anything. That's going to be your white polos. That's going to be your gray colored polos, especially light color grays. And don't forget about black. Yes, black polos are surprisingly versatile. You can wear them with light colored trousers. You can wear them with dark colored jeans. Now, what about those bright and bold polos? So this is when you want to flip it and you want the trousers to be neutral. Now, with earth tones, the same rules are going to apply, except I think it's a little bit easier because you're going to be able to bring in a wide variety of browns and tans when it comes to trousers and shorts that are going to work with these colors. As for the pastel colors, those look really great with navy trousers, navy shorts, or khaki pants or khaki shorts. Next up, let's talk about dressing up your polo. A lot of guys make the mistake of either dressing up the wrong type of polo, or they never even try dressing up a polo, which is very possible. Again, that's why I like Collars & Co. They got that structured collar. But understand the key to dressing up a polo is not to push it. A polo worn with an open neck is not something you want to wear to an event in which a tie is required. So there are limitations here. But if you're dressing up for an outdoor wedding, it's relatively casual. And yes, ties are not required. You're just a guest. Why not be able to bring in a polo with that casual suit? Make sure to slip in a pocket square and maybe have a little bit more fun with your shoes. But this right here is just a really simple, clean, elegant look. It's going to have you looking like you've got style, that you're wearing the outfit versus the outfit wearing you. Now, what are the rules when it comes to tucking in a polo? So again, if it's going to be a straight polo or it's a little bit longer and you're going to be dressing it up, you definitely want to tuck in that polo. Now, what about the rib knit hem? I personally love this because it allows me to wear the polo untucked, but I wear it in such a way. I put that rib knit hem just a little bit higher, and all of a sudden it gives the illusion that the polo is tucked in when it's not. For me, this is just a bit more comfortable, and it really works whenever you're wearing something like performance pants or jeans. And now another way to dress up a polo is to layer it. And again, this is why you want a strong collar, especially if you're going to be throwing a sweater on it, like a quarter zip. And of course, when you do wear a polo shirt with a blazer jacket, with a suit jacket, or a sports jacket, you don't want that collar creeping under the collar of the jacket. It's just not a great look. Now, when it comes to shoes and dressing up your polo, I really like to lean towards loafers. Loafers, in case you don't know, are less formal than a lot of the dress shoes like Balmoral Oxfords, but they're still dressy enough that you can shine them up. They've got a really nice look to them, and they're going to work with a casual suit or even dark colored jeans with your polo. Now, what about dressing polos down? So this is where I think a lot of guys in their 30s and 40s really miss an opportunity, and that is to stop wearing your t-shirts and start wearing your polos, because that soft collar, it makes such a difference in the way you present yourself. You can take that same pair of shorts, even wear it with those casual running shoes, but you throw on a polo, and all of a sudden people start showing you a bit more respect. That collar makes a difference because the design of the collar was made historically to help frame the face and draw attention to it. Now, of course, I think you can do a lot more, especially when it comes to the shoes. Get yourself a nice pair of shorts and then maybe go with those loafers. Seriously, gents, when it comes to casual shoes, you got a lot more options than you think. But that polo with those streamlined shorts in a nice conservative neutral color, this is a timeless look. If it's a bit cooler, either going with a pair of chinos or dark colored jeans, and accessorize the look with a nice watch and sunglasses. Can you spot the error with these shirt and sweater combinations? So we've got look number one right here, a white collared shirt with a gray sweater. Next up, that same sweater style, but we're going with a more vibrant color, this green, mixed in with a collared shirt whose base color is blue, but if you look closely, a distinctive pattern. And then we've got the combination I'm wearing right here, a medium gray sweater with a brown suede accent with a navy blue collared shirt. What do you think? Did you spot the mistake? Well, gents, I don't know how you didn't see this, but I wasn't wearing pants with any of those combinations. Here, I'll show you. Nope, just kidding. I don't want to scar you guys, but no, seriously, I do wear pants in my videos. But to the point, layering a shirt with a sweater can be done in an infinite number of ways. Some combinations are going to make you look great. Other combinations, well, they can make you look like you have no fashion sense at all. So how to avoid the latter and increase the likelihood you always look great? First up, we're starting with the basics. If you're going to be layering with a sweater, you want to have the right type of shirt underneath. Because ideally, you don't want to be having to wash your sweater after every wear. A shirt serves the purpose of absorbing any sweat, any dirt, any oil that comes off the skin, and enables you to get more life out of your expensive sweaters because you're not having to launder them as often. You just throw the shirt in the wash. Now, as such, any shirt that you're going to wear under a sweater, you want it to fit well on the body. A shirt that's too baggy or too large that's worn under a sweater is going to have the effect of creating bulks and wrinkles even under a well-fitted sweater, and it's just not going to look good. In addition, most times you want to find a shirt that has a strong collar. Now, one of the simplest and classic collars to go to when you're layering is a button-down collar. It's a casual style collar made popular on the polo fields, but why men like it when layering is it keeps the collar points in place. And last but not least, let's talk about shirt length. So for any man in his 20s or above, I recommend when you're layering to tuck in your shirt. Now, if you're 15 going to a school in which they've got a uniform and you want to push the envelope and go with the half tuck look to be a rebel, go for it. If they put you in detention, tell me Antonio told you. Next up, let's talk the sweater styles that look best with layering. Starting things off, we got the classic crew neck. Now, as mentioned earlier, for a more casual look, you can choose just to wear a t-shirt underneath the crew neck. But the classic layer look is going to have a collar that just peeps above and is held together closely by the sweater neckline. It's a classic, well-established look, although I feel it looks a little bit bunched, and I prefer this other style, which is the V-neck. Now, V-neck sweaters reveal a little bit more of the collar. And I find that when bringing in a third item, like a necktie, they do a better job of showing off the 3 different texture combinations that you could see in this layered look. And yes, it's a little bit more fashion forward, but I do think you can wear a t-shirt underneath, and that combination could look fine. But having said all that, my favorite sweater style for a guy to layer has got to be the quarter zip or the half zip sweater. And within this style, I'm also throwing in sweaters that have buttons on them, whether it's a button or a zip. It's a very small difference, although buttons in general are going to be more formal. But yeah, this combination right here is a little bit more modern, and I really like, again, when paired with the right shirt, when possibly even paired with a necktie, it does an excellent job bringing in a variety of different materials, different colors, different textures. And again, because so many of you guys are choosing to not wear a necktie, this is where the accents on the sweaters, whether it be the button color, whether it be a suede lining right there next to the zipper, this here all of a sudden is bringing in lines, it's bringing in color, it's bringing a little bit more attention to where we want people looking towards you, towards your face. And if you want something a little bit more unique, stylish, still pretty well laid back, check out the sweater blazer, which is a close relative of the cardigan. You can argue a sweater blazer is a little bit more of a structured look, but no, it's basically cardigans, sweater blazers, basically the same thing. And again, as you can see here, you can make this super casual with a V-neck shirt, or you can dress it up with a collared shirt, a really versatile piece to add to your collection. So now let's talk about color matching. At the beginning of this video, I showed you some various combinations. Probably the biggest difference you saw there were the ways that the colors worked with each other. Now this combination right here is the most muted. We've got a regular gray mixed in with a dark blue, and the accent color here, like I said, is that little bit of suede right there, that brown, but it definitely doesn't scream in your face. All of these colors right here are what are known as neutrals. Neutrals are those base colors that everything else can be built on. They don't really grab that much attention, but that's a great thing because they work with each other. They're easy to combine. You don't have to think about it. As long as you nail the fit, you are going to look good. Now, the next combination I want to talk about is that of a high contrast combination. We see this a lot of times in formal wear, but depending on the style and the materials that are being used, it can also be casual. But usually for this contrast, we're going to see a light color and a dark color right next to each other. Now, the key with a contrast combination is it draws the eyes in. The darker color is going to be the majority of what we see, and the lighter color is going to be used for a little bit of accent contrast, which is exactly what we see in this gray and white shirt combination here. Now, what about when we bring in a pop of color? Now, if there's any mistake I made with this combination right here, and that is I brought in too much color. The sweater in of itself is not a common color that you see people pulling off, especially men. I'm not sure it works really well with my skin tone. Usually I go towards more of an olive green, but I wanted to try it out, and I do recommend that you try out colors because you're never going to truly know if something works for you until you hold it up next to your face, up next to your skin. Now, the shirt contrasts with the sweater not only because it's a different color, but notice how there's a subtle pattern in the shirt. However, I don't think the contrast is high. I do think the combination works, although overall it does lean a little bit more casual. Now, right next to color, we've got patterns and texture. So in general, we're going to see most of the patterns in the shirts. You can bring in a striped or a patterned sweater, but because visually it's something we see more of, I think it's harder to pull off and you're not going to get as many miles out of a sweater that has a distinctive pattern. Although there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you've already got a lot of solid sweaters in your collection. Bringing in something with a little bit of pop, a little bit of pattern is not a bad thing. You're going to be able to mix it and match it with a number of different neutral sweaters. Yeah, by sticking with pattern shirts, you're probably going to get more bang for your dollar. But it's in texture that the sweaters really have the big advantage. With shirts, most of the time, we're going to see performance fabrics, but usually we're going to have a tight weave that either has a little bit of a sheen or not much to it. The sweaters, on the other hand, are usually going to have a slight napped surface, so they're going to have that softness to them. And depending on the weave, depending on the knit, you could have knits that are tight, they're going to have a very smooth, thin look to them, or you can have heavier knits that are going to have a much bulkier overall textured look and feel. Now, the tighter knit sweaters, whether they're made from cotton, wool, or cashmere, are going to be the dressier ones. And the heavier knit, larger, bulkier sweaters, those in general are going to be more casual. But yeah, when you're layering, texture is one of those secret weapons because you can have that cotton shirt with that wool sweater with a silk necktie, all three of them, different textures working with each other. You can have the same exact color, and yet it's still going to give this really nice, elegant, layered look. Now, we alluded to it, but I want to talk a little bit more about material matching when it comes to weight. So whenever something is considered dressier, that's where you've got a thinner sweater. Again, can be made from cotton, wool, usually cashmere or something like that is what you're going to find. But these are going to be lighter weight, and they are going to have shirts underneath them that are of a lighter weight. These are fabrics like performance materials or a thin dress shirt Oxford. If you decide to wear a bulkier sweater, something a little bit heavier, then you want to try to match it, especially if the shirt's going to be seen, with a heavier weight shirt. These are going to be shirts made from at least an Oxford type material, which is going to be a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier, but you could choose to level up to a flannel, which is going to be much thicker, much heavier, and as you can surmise, this combination is probably going to keep you a lot warmer, so reserve this for colder weather. Now, with the combination I'm wearing right here, I've got a dress shirt polo made from a performance fabric. Now, the sweater is a lightweight cashmere merino wool, and because of the lightness, the overall close fit to the body, I can actually add a third layer, which you saw me do earlier with that performance blazer. And that's where I think layering gets really interesting, is when you start to have 4 layers. Because yes, that would count as 4 layers if I was wearing a necktie. But you see how that combination would work because the level of formality of all 4 items would be in alignment. And in case you're wondering, when it comes to necktie knots, I recommend when you're layering, I like the 4-in-hand or the half Windsor because they're not overly bulky. So one of the biggest mistakes I see guys making when they're trying to style a bomber jacket is they're wearing the wrong size. The reality is that most guys are buying a size that's too large for them. Now, having gone through the fitting process of getting a bomber jacket, I understand why. When most guys are buying a winter jacket, they expect to layer with it, so they want enough room underneath that they could wear a bulky sweater. Unfortunately, this rule of thumb doesn't work when you're buying a bomber because of the elastic on the arm and on the waist area. You see, bomber jackets are an interesting mix of a loose fit in the body and then a closer fit on the arms and on the waist. And the reason goes back to its military history. You see, the elastic around the waist and around the wrists was meant to be able to keep the cold out and the warm in, while the excess room in the torso area was for the equipment a pilot would often carry. This could include a sidearm, breathing equipment, or maps or important information that the pilot would need if he had to ditch the airplane quick. In fact, when it came to layering, usually a pilot was wearing only his flight suit underneath. So how to get the perfect fit? Pay attention to the shoulders. Don't wear bulky clothing underneath, and go ahead and simply put the jacket on and look how it fits you in the shoulder points. When you zip it up around the waist, it should be snug, but in the chest, in the torso area, you should have some room. Gents, this is key. Fit is king. You've got to get it right. I know there is a difference between a bomber jacket and a flight jacket. A bomber jacket is a variation of a flight jacket. Flight jackets include everything from A1 jackets to A2 jackets, B3 jackets, B6 jackets, and even G1s. But in today's video, we're going to focus in on the A2 bomber jacket, that leather jacket that has been a style icon for almost 100 years. Yes, gentlemen, this jacket was designed in the 1930s for the Army Air Corps, and they wanted a jacket that pilots could fly at higher altitudes at. The current A1 jacket just wasn't good enough, wasn't meeting the standards they need, and so the A2 jacket was created. And that takes me to the next mistake that guys make when it comes to styling a bomber jacket, is they don't even have one in their wardrobe. They think, that's a fad, that's a fashion, flash in the pan. Guys, almost 100 years, this jacket has been around. Yes, it has its ups and downs, but if you invest in a good bomber jacket, one that again fits you, looks good, is classic in design, you can bet that this thing is still going to be fashionable 50 years from now. Now, if you're in the market for a bomber jacket, a lot of options out there, and some of them can cost you thousands of dollars, especially if you're looking old school vintage. You also want to be careful about the styling. You're going to find some bomber jackets out there that look good in pictures, but when you get them in your hands, they're just poor quality. They just are not what you expected. Really quick, a little bit of history note. The blood chit and the A2 bomber jacket, they used to go hand in hand. In case you're not familiar with blood chits, these were a notice that were carried by aviators whenever they were flying over an area that they didn't speak the language, and it basically asked that the person who engaged with the aviator to take him to safety, and it promised a reward. Now, the blood chits were first pioneered by the British in World War I, but in World War II, the blood chits were made famous by the Flying Tigers. And the Flying Tigers, in case you're not familiar, these were American pilots that went over to China, fought for the Chinese against the Japanese before the United States entered the war. With these blood chits, they would often read in Chinese, "I am an American. My plane is destroyed. I cannot speak your language. I am the enemy of the Japanese. Please give me food and take me to the nearest Allied military post. You will be rewarded." Yeah, so if you're ever in a thrift store and you find bomber jacket with a blood chit in it, guys, grab it. That is a high value item. So the next mistake a lot of guys make when they're trying to style a bomber jacket is they wear the wrong type of trousers. So there are many options, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. You may prefer chinos. You want to go with your jeans, maybe probably not shorts, but I am going to say a lot of guys for some reason seem to gear toward, I'm going to wear some cargo pants. Don't do that. Okay, we've already got the big pocket right here. You also don't want to wear skinny jeans, and you don't want to wear oversized jeans. It's going to be more straight fit jeans, maybe something with a bit of trim. You could probably wear a looser fit if that is your style, but don't go with baggy. Again, one of the extremes here, it just doesn't work with this particular jacket style. Perhaps the best bit of advice I can give you right here, and this applies actually to wearing any type of outfit, is to look at yourself in a full length mirror straight on. This is going to enable you to see just any mixed matched proportions. And that's what we're watching for, because again, with the bomber jacket, we're going to have a little bit of excess material around the midsection, but you're going to be tighter in and around the waist and the wrist. And this can cause the wrong type of trousers, especially again, if they're a loose or a really close fit, it can throw the whole look off. So you want to avoid those. Again, straight fit jeans, maybe a bit of a trim fit, or like that, not skinny, but slim is fine. Next up, let's talk about formality. Bomber jackets are casual, even in military circles. They are casual, especially if you've got patches on the jacket. Just a little bit of history. On the left-hand side, you would usually have, are you in the United States Air Corps? Historically, are you in the Navy? That would be over here. And then over on the right, you would have the patches of the squadron. Now, the Air Force, the Chair Force, you guys would actually change it out depending on what squadron you're at. I'm making fun. I love the Air Force, air power. The Navy, on the other hand, they would actually stack the patches depending on what squadron you're with, because every couple of years, usually you're switching squadrons. squadrons. So on a Navy flyer, you would often see a series of patches going down. But in general, gents, anything you wear a bomber jacket with is going to be a casual outfit. So you're wearing it with a dress shirt, you've got some gray flannels, you like the look and the combination, that's fine, but it is going to bring down the formality level of the outfit. The next mistake when buying a bomber jacket is a lot of guys buy a cheap one and they try to pass it off. Here's the thing, everyone can tell that that is a fake leather, it's a cheap leather, it just, doesn't look good. Now, historically, the A2 jacket was made from a variety of different leathers because it was civilian contracted through various contractors over the years. Initially, they used tanned horsehide. Cowhide, of course, was used, but we've also seen goatskin used. In fact, in 1988, the United States Air Force reissued the A2 jacket in goatskin, and it was only available to a select few. In a nutshell, you had to have completed your mission qualifications, and unfortunately, they weren't allowed to throw a bunch of patches on it and stuff and make it look really cool. I'm not going to say one leather is better than the other. In general, goatskin is going to be softer, more supple, but it's not going to be as tough. I really like a nice cowhide. Horse is going to be much harder and also thicker, but in any case, make sure that it's a leather that you can condition and over time is going to actually pick up a bit of patina and is going to look good 50 years from now if you take care of it. The next styling mistake I see is not choosing the right color. And this is relatively easy. Go with the jacket color that's already in your wardrobe. You want it to work with everything you've got. Most of the jackets you're going to see out there are going to be variations of brown. Dark, medium, and again, going back to, these are manufactured over the years by various manufacturers and they had different colors. And when you're working with leather, every hide is going to be slightly different. But there's nothing wrong with going with a black bomber jacket. Is it traditional? No. But if all the jackets in your wardrobe are black, your shoes are black, you really like that color, then wear it, because when you choose the right color, you're going to be able to wear it with confidence because you actually know how to pull that color off. Now, I talked about this earlier, but I want to make sure I give it its own point, and that is, don't overlayer with a bomber jacket. Historically, people just wore a flight suit underneath. I like wearing it with a Henley, with a t-shirt, maybe with a long sleeve, t-shirt. Have something underneath that is relatively light, because that's when I think a bomber jacket looks really well. And these are going to be thick. They're going to be warm. They come in different styles, but understand this isn't really like a negative 30-degree winter jacket. For that, wear a parka. So to be specific, in general, I consider bomber jackets lightweight jackets. And there's nothing wrong with having lightweight jackets in your wardrobe, especially those of you guys out in California, maybe down in Texas. Yes, I know occasionally in Texas it gets below freezing and you guys aren't ready for it. Come on, I grew up in Midland. I get it, but no, this type of jacket is going to look great, especially just simply when you can throw it on, look good, feel good. Oh, and if you spend a lot of time commuting, this is a great jacket as well because of the elastic. It keeps the jacket out of the way. When you get into the vehicle, you get out of the vehicle. I actually like, be able to show off the watch. Yeah, it's just a good overall style and fit. Now, this next mistake, not everyone is going to agree with me here, but I like to wear a bomber jacket unzipped, which goes against most jackets when I talk about when you stand. A sports jacket, you button it up when you stand. A lot of my other jackets, I like to actually zip them up a bit when I'm walking around, but I find with the design of the bomber jacket, it looks best when it is just left open. That being said, you want to make sure that you can zip it up in inclement weather if you do have to, keep yourself warm and you're wearing the jacket for practical purposes. But when it comes to looking good in the jacket, if you're going to be walking in, meeting up with some ladies, guys, I really like it when you just leave it open. It is a casual, just creates a timeless look. On top of that, I really do like it when you go with solids. You don't try to overdo it with prints and colors. This style is in of itself enough, I think, to be subtle and to grab a bit of attention. I don't think you need to do it with shirts that have too much attention, have too much color. Go with simple, dark colors. Yeah, it just is a really clean, timeless look. So this first mistake, I was hesitant to even put it on this list. I mean, to me, this one seems obvious. But then again, I've designed thousands of shirts, written a book on style and etiquette, and to be straight up, I just saw a guy the other day making this mistake. Now, I was at an event with my wife, and it was kind of fancy. Most of the guys were wearing blazers, sports jackets, or suits. And then I see this guy out of the corner of my eye wearing his dress shirt untucked. And to be clear, I'm not judging this guy. In fact, I thought the rest of his outfit looked fine, and I'm sure he made a conscious decision to wear the shirt like that. I mean, he was walking around with what looked to be pretty decent confidence. But the reality, gents, is when it comes to dress shirts, they're made to be tucked in. And by that, I mean the dress shirt is designed in a way that it's going to look best on a man when that bottom hem is properly tucked into his trousers. Now, to his defense, I can see why he may think that you could wear a shirt like this untucked. Probably the majority of shirts he wears, t-shirts, even maybe polos, he wears untucked. And the reason for that is t-shirts are designed in a way that they can be worn untucked. Notice how the bottom hem area on a t-shirt goes straight across. In addition, with most t-shirts, the length falls 2 inches right below the waistline. Now, of course, you can tuck in a t-shirt, but the fashion trend nowadays is wear everything untucked unless it's an undershirt. And of course, then we've got the polo shirt. This one's even more confusing. Even though it may seem to have a straight bottom, a lot of times on these type of shirts, you'll notice the back is a little bit longer than the front. This comes from its heritage as a sports shirt with the option of being worn tucked or untucked. Now the rule here for this shirt is it depends on what you're wearing it with. A polo shirt with a sports jacket and trousers? Yeah, tuck it in with a belt. A polo shirt with shorts and sandals? Yeah, wear it untucked. Now with dress shirts on the other hand, notice we have the long curved hem. It usually raises over on the sides, but the purpose of this design is to allow it to be tucked in and stay tucked in throughout the day. In fact, some dress shirts used to have tabs and buttons, which you could use to affix them to your trousers so they wouldn't come untucked. The next 2 mistakes you want to avoid, make sure you get a great fit on the cuff and on the collar. So on most off-the-rack shirts, these are shirts not made custom, you're going to notice there's 2 buttons here on the collar. The 2 buttons are there to give you 2 options when it comes to fit. And you know you have a good fit on the cuff when it fits smoothly around the wrist, not tight, but definitely not overly loose because you don't want your hand to slip through. Seriously, if you ever had a shirt that the cuff is too large, paired with sleeves that are too long, you're going to have that cuff covering your hand and it's just not a great look. Now, a quick hack here, if you don't have a great fit on the cuff, is that you can actually move the button. Yeah, you can cut it off, you can re-sew it on to exactly the right point that fits you. Oh, and on a side note, if you wear a watch, make sure you always leave a little bit of extra room so your watch can slide in and out. Now with collars, the mistake I see most often is either going with the wrong style or getting the wrong fit. So shirt collars come in a wide variety of styles, but as you can see from the chart right here, there are 2 main factors that affect its overall appearance. They are the point length and the point spread. Now the average shirt collar point length is going to be between 2 and 3 inches. The average spread for a classic collar is going to be between 50 and 70 degrees. Once you start going outside those bounds, all of a sudden you start affecting the overall shape, look, and style of the collar. Increase the angle of the collar spread, shorten those points, all of a sudden you have a widespread collar, which is going to be a more casual style, great if you want to wear a wider necktie knot or wear that shirt without a necktie. Bring it in a little bit more narrow, you're going to need to go with a smaller knot, a smaller necktie. And by the way, these type of shirts in anything below 60 degrees, I think it looks incomplete without a necktie. So yeah, if you got a narrow collar spread, don't try wearing this sans necktie. Now there are exceptions to this where you add one small style detail and it changes the collar. Example being the collar I'm wearing right here. This is a button down collar. It's going to be more casual. You can wear it with a necktie, but it also looks fine without one. My point here is if you decide to wear a collar outside the norm, a little bit maybe eclectic, understand that there are certain ways to style this for it to look its best. So when it comes to your collar, fully buttoned here at the top, you want to be able to slide in 2 fingers. That's about perfect. 3, okay, 1, a little bit close. But the point here is you don't want to choke yourself out. Now, if you've already got a shirt in your wardrobe, but it's a little bit tight, you can actually move the button over about 1/4 to maybe 1/2 inch. And another option here, you can find them online or sometimes in menswear stores. They have button extenders that can give you another 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. Next up, let's talk about shoulders. This area is critical. On a shirt, you have a shoulder point. That needs to be approximately at the end point of your shoulders. I see a lot of guys make the mistake of trying to wear a shirt that is way too big in the shoulder points. And I get it, you found this shirt on sale, you've got a hard to fit body type, you've got longer arms, but the problem with those shoulder points being out there is 1, you're going to swim in fabric, 2, the frame of that shirt does not work with yours. It's never going to fit properly. It's always going to look off. The advice I would give you, never buy a shirt unless it fits you in the shoulders. Another area that's a non-negotiable is the length of the shirt. So if you've got a longer torso, put that shirt on, raise your arms up. You should not be able to see your midsection. If you don't have enough fabric, there's nothing we can do. This shirt just isn't going to work for you. Now, if it's too long, not really an issue. You can just keep it tucked in, but you could always shorten it if you so choose. And the same in the torso. If in the chest area, if in the stomach area, you've got more than 2 inches of fabric to play with, you can easily just simply dart the back of the shirt. This is where we bring in the fabric. It's a relatively inexpensive alteration that you can even learn to do yourself, and it's well worth it because it will make that shirt look so much better on you. Now let's talk about sleeve length. I like them a little bit longer. Some guys like them shorter. In any case, when you put your arms up, they should be about touching your wrist. So if your sleeves pull halfway up your forearms, they're too short, don't buy the shirt. But if you have the opposite issue, a lot of excess material, you can get it adjusted. Just realize this is going to be a little bit more of an expensive fix because they actually have to take the cuff off and they can shorten it. And so for that reason, I say in most cases, leave it alone. Now with that bit of advice, you may be saying, well, Antonio, I thought we want this shirt to look good. We do, but the next mistake I see so many guys making is they wear a dress shirt without a jacket. a blazer jacket, a sports jacket, a suit jacket, a sweater jacket. Guys, you got options, but guess what? Whenever you're wearing a jacket over that, no one's going to notice that you got a little bit of excess material around the sleeves. And the classic collared dress shirt is going to fulfill its role as a layering piece. That's what it was designed for. That's what it's meant to do. Now, I get it. All the other guys around you, all the pictures you see, guys are just simply wearing the dress shirt. Maybe they're wearing a tie with it. Why throw on a jacket? Well, guys, I'll talk about this at the end of the video, but have the courage to be the best dressed man in the room. Think about who you are, what you stand for, what you're getting dressed for, and know that when you throw a jacket on with the dress shirt, in pretty much every situation, it's just going to look better and make you look better as well. Next up, let's talk about shirt colors, patterns, and formality. Now, in terms of formality, the dressiest shirt we're going to see out there is the classic white dress shirt made either from poplin or broadcloth. Now, a big part of this is heritage and tradition, but also when worn with a dark suit, it provides a high contrast look that's typical in black tie and business attire. Now, the most formal collar out there is one you won't see. It's called the wingtip. But on a white shirt like this, as long as you go with anything between that 50 and 70 degrees and between 2 and 3 inches in collar point length, you will be fine, even if you go a little bit more spread or a little bit more closed. Now, going down a notch in formality, we're going to see lighter colored solids. Light blue being the most common, but pretty much in any color, if it's a tint, a lighter color, pastels being a great example. Any one of these can be worn with a dark colored suit, necktie, and it would look good in business attire. And speaking of business attire, let's go to the classic stripes. Right here we have a stripe on white. A white shirt with a colored stripe, this one in a conservative thin blue. Because of its history being worn in a business environment, this one has stepped up in terms of level of formality, and I would put it at about the same level as the tints mentioned earlier. Now, as the stripes get thicker or become more bold, the shirt does start to become more casual. And notice how the stripes have a variety of different names. This is related to the thickness, the dimension of the stripe itself. Now, occasionally you will see stripes on other colors like blue. These are going to be even more casual, but I find a lot of guys still like to wear this with a suit. I wouldn't put it in high-end business attire, but I do think with a casual suit, it can look amazing. Stepping down a level of formality, we have the darker solids along with checks. Now, there are all different types of checks. I prefer really subtle patterns like a Glen check right here, which from a distance, it looks like a solid, but you get up close and you start to see the pattern. And in my opinion, an easy way to introduce patterns, smart looking shirts that add the illusion of texture and I think depth to an overall outfit. And then there are the dark colored dress shirts. In general, I don't consider these dress shirts. Historically, they don't fit that definition, but manufacturers keep putting them out. And if they're not dress shirts, what are they? Well, even though they may have the same collar style, cuff style, and overall build of a dress shirt, they are actually defined as casual button downs, which is a whole other category of shirt, more casual, which you can wear them with sports jackets, maybe even casual suits. I personally don't think they look great with most neckties, but to each their own. I'm just one of those guys maybe stuck in the past trying to pass on tradition that, yeah, I picked up over the decades, wanting you to always look your best. Some other last minute tips, make sure you iron the shirt, take care of it, check out for small stains. Any accessories that you wear with it, the necktie, go with a nice silk one, learn to tie a necktie knot properly. Wear a nice pair of chinos, trousers. You got so many different options when it comes to good looking trousers now. I do get the question, can you wear jeans with a dress shirt? You can, but you got to know how to do it because it's really easy to mess up. So there you are, about to go out, looking at yourself in the mirror, but something is missing from your outfit. The hair's on point, the shirt is looking good, but your neck is bare. So let's throw on a necklace. But which one? Option 1, a close-fitted Cuban link silver chain. Option 2, a gold cross on a thin gold chain. Option 3, a pair of dog tags with a simple metal chain. Or maybe a simple bronze knit chain with a Nordic symbol, aka pendant. Heck, maybe you want to go full-on pimp and wear this. So which of those options were right? Which ones were wrong? Well, sorry, gents, it's a bit of a trick question because the answer depends on you and your personal style. But seriously, gents, there are so many ways to wear a necklace with style. Now, gents, I'll admit, I've got a pretty conservative style, and over the last decade, I've not really recommended most men pulling off or wearing necklaces. But I was having a meeting the other day with my friend, Greg Brzezinski, and in that meeting, he was wearing a monochromatic look, had this really nice shirt matching with the jacket, and he wore this silver chain. It was silver, it was strong, it was bold, and it really complemented his look. The point being is that wearing a necklace can be an integral part of your style and identity. In fact, human beings have been wearing necklaces for a long time. You go back 5,000 years, the Egyptians adorned themselves with all different types of necklaces. These ancient necklaces, whether they were shell or gold, were often believed to ward off bad spirits, and in the case of the Egyptians, could also show status and power. In fact, that's a great transition to talk about why would a man wear a necklace? Well, one of the first reasons is to show status and power. Now, in today's day and age, especially in the Western world, it doesn't have the same effect. But there was a time throughout human history, and we see this across cultures. An example being the Maurya Empire out of India from 300 to 100 BC. Elaborate jewelry and necklaces not only had a spiritual meaning, but it also showed status in society. Now, with the ancient Romans, as many of you guys know, it wasn't a normal part of male attire, but still there were many recorded instances of high-ranking military officials receiving what was known as a torque. And yes, I know a lot of you history buffs know that this was actually a practice stolen from the Celts. And jumping over to North America, let's look at the Mayans, let's look at the Aztecs. Throughout these cultures, necklaces were an integral part of ceremonial attire. But even the commoners wore simple necklaces that again would give an idea of status and their beliefs. Next up, let's talk about identity and belonging when wearing necklaces. So wearing a necklace with religious symbolism is a very clear way to say to the world, to say to yourself whenever you look in the mirror, I am a part of this tribe. Now, there are tons of examples out there, but here in the Western world, one of the most common ones we see is the cross. Now, depending on which section of Christianity you ascribe to, maybe you're going to be wearing a crucifix, maybe you're going to be wearing a simple cross. I know people that wear rosaries, other people that wear scapulars, and of course, tons of other religions around the world do the exact same thing. All that being said, you don't have to be religious to wear a necklace that shows identity and standing. In fact, you could be part of a club, you could be part of an organization. And when I was in the Marine Corps, wearing the dog tags, yes, they had a functional purpose, but I know tons of guys that continue to wear them afterwards because they like to be able to show that they're a veteran, that they were in the military. In fact, I know tons of people that just, they like to wear it because they want to be associated with the military. Next up, let's talk about wearing a necklace for emotional reasons. I'm sure for some of you guys, you've got a chain, you've got a necklace that was passed down to you. Maybe it was something your grandfather bought initially and your father wore, now you're wearing it, but it has an emotional connection. Maybe you're not even a necklace guy, but you wear this on special occasions because it reminds you of where you come from. For other people, it's about their heritage. It's about their emotional connection with, maybe you don't know your father, maybe you never got to meet your grandfather, but you did do a DNA test and you understand where you come from. You come from New Zealand and you connect with some of the tribes over there and you realize that jewelry was huge over in that culture. So you went ahead and crafted a piece that reminds you of where you come from. Now, the emotional connection, I think, has been there since the beginning. People have been wearing necklaces, but I think it was made popular a few hundred years ago, especially during colonial times when we saw the rise of the locket. Now, these were much more popular with women, but you did see men wearing lockets or necklaces that reminded them of a loved one, of someone they were separated from, of somebody that, they just wish they could be with, someone they wanted to remember. Now, next up, let's talk about fashion. I know a lot of you guys think, oh, I'm immune from fashion. It has no effect on me. Guys, nobody is immune from fashion. It's very difficult for people to stand out. My point here is if you grow up in a family where all the men wear necklaces, if you grow up in a culture where the majority of men wear necklaces, if you're at a school where it seems like everyone is wearing a necklace, understand that you are more likely to start wearing a necklace. There's nothing bad about this. In fact, it's kind of fun to change things up and it can develop your own personal style, but just be aware that we are affected by our surroundings. Now let's talk about sex appeal and attraction. You look around, the majority of men they don't even own a necklace. They're not thinking to wear one. They're scared to show it off. So if you've got the confidence to be able to pull this off, to be able to look good wearing this necklace, you understand a little bit about, aesthetics, and we'll get into the details, all the different types of necklaces. Point being, this is a way to peacock. This is a way to stand out from the crowd and to be able to separate yourself from everyone else out there. And maybe it's a great conversation starter. It at least is something, again, to set you apart from the pack. Now, I do need to mention, whether you believe it or not, many people wear necklaces for protective reasons. There are many people that believe amulets, certain stones, and they truly believe this. And I'm not saying you're right, I'm not saying you're wrong, but just understand that, there's a lot of necklaces out there that are made to ward away bad spirits or to give you luck. And last but certainly not least, why a man I think should wear a necklace is self-expression. And this is going to be a higher level. It's, just I think in the last 100 years that we've really seen this shift of more individualism, again, especially in the West. If you think it looks good on you, again, now I'm thinking of Greg, it just looked so good. He's an architect. He's a designer. He's someone that cares about the aesthetics, and he wore it for himself. When you start wearing things for yourself, all of a sudden, it just feels good. You almost feel naked without pieces like this. And it becomes part of who you are. It allows you to express yourself without saying a word. Now for this next part of the video, I'm going to break out all the different types of necklaces out there. There's quite a few, and I'm going to cover them quickly. First up, we've got collars. These are going to be 12 to 14 inches in length. In case you didn't know, the average neck is about 15.5 to 16 inches. So, these are fitting really close, if not tight. So yeah, unless you've got a really thin neck or you want to wear something tight around the neck, collars aren't going to be for most guys. It's more of a woman's type of necklace, although some guys can pull it off. Next up, let's talk about the choker. In general, chokers are going to be 14 to 16 inches in length. These are going to sit right at the base of the neck, and I've seen a lot of guys actually be able to pull off this look. Again, you've got to have, I think, a more muscular build. It's for the guy it really works with, and in general, it is a casual or alternative type of style. Next up, we've got the princess from about 18 inches to 20 inches, and despite the name, this is the most common necklace length that men wear. It usually sits just below the throat at the collarbone, and it's relatively versatile, hence why so many guys own a necklace of this length. Now, matinee necklaces are going to be about 22 to 24 inches in length, and these are going to sit just above the sternum. Now, matinees are a great choice if you're going to be wearing a pendant, especially one maybe you don't want to show off, something you're going to be wearing under the shirt. Now, in the longer realms, we're going to see the opera and the rope. The opera is going to be about 28 to 36 inches in length, while the rope is going to be over 36 inches. Now, this is going to be difficult for a lot of men to pull off unless you are just wearing a statement piece, especially a piece that you're going to wear outside your clothing on top of anything you're wearing. That's when you oftentimes see necklaces of this length. Now let's get into the different types of chains. So the most common one we're going to see out there is known as the Cuban chain. Now, Cuban link chains come in a variety of different materials, oftentimes though precious, and they come in a variety of sizes. We're talking from very delicate 1 millimeter chains to statement pieces that are going to be 2 centimeters in size. Most commonly, these chains are going to be between 20 and 30 inches, although you will see them down to 16 inches. You'll see them as long as 30 inches. And as the name implies, these were made popular down in the Miami area, people coming over from Cuba. You saw it in the 1970s and 80s. It started popping up in a number of magazines. It has since spread throughout the world. Next up, let's talk about rope chains. Now, rope chains are going to be made from a variety of different materials: gold, silver, platinum. Depends on how much you want to spend, what you're looking for, the properties that you want. And the diameter of the rope chain is going to be anywhere from 1 millimeter to up to 5 millimeters. Now, rope chains are normally going to be about 16 to 30 inches in length, and believe it or not, the design is really old. It goes back to the Roman Empire, and as the name implies, it's going to be that twisted nature of the metal that gives it a rope-like look, hence the name. Next up, let's talk about the Figaro chain. Often crafted from gold, silver, stainless steel, the Figaro chain is going to be about 18 to 24 inches in length, and the width from about 2 millimeters to up to 10 millimeters in width. And Figaro chains are easy to spot because of their distinctive pattern. They usually got 3 small circular links followed by a longer oval link. And if you know your history, these come out of Italy, and they were named after the opera, The Marriage of Figaro. Next up, let's talk about bead chains. You're going to see these oftentimes with dog tags or on very inexpensive necklaces. They can be made from, precious materials, but oftentimes they're just made from steel. They come in widths from 1 millimeter to up to 4 millimeters, but usually they're going to be pretty thin, and the length's 16 to 30 inches. The design has been around for a long time, and it's not just used in necklaces. We also see this functionally used like to turn on like old school lamps and stuff like that. Some other chain styles you're going to see out there are going to be snake chains, which, of course, as the name implies, from their smooth scale texture, it resembles a snake's skin. And these chains, believe it or not, have been around for centuries. You're also going to see box chains out there, the size of the link from 1 millimeter to 3 millimeters, length about 16 to 30 inches, made from a variety of materials. The box chain is, of course, named for its boxy appearance. And it may look a bit clunky, but it's actually very strong, and it was one of the favorite chains for pendants, anything you didn't want to break off and get lost. And last but not least, let's talk about curb chains. And they typically, in length, are going to be about 20 to 24 inches, and they come in a wide variety of different materials: gold, silver, stainless steel, or platinum. Now, the curb design was initially used for horse bits, and these have been around for hundreds of years. That being said, they're not as popular nowadays, but this may be a style that you like, and hey, you can rock. Now, at this point, let's talk about pendants. Now, a pendant is the hanging element attached to a necklace. They are not required for a necklace. You've got many people that just wear chains, but oftentimes a pendant is going to be integral to the design of the necklace, and it really allows you to change things up to bring in a wide variety of different things you can't do with the chain, be able to bring in a wide variety of designs or even images. Now, one of the most common common types of pendants out there is going to be the locket. Not necessarily for men in terms of popularity, who knows, it may come back, but lockets, as you can imagine, they open up and they usually have something of value to the wearer. That could be a keepsake, it could be an image, it could be a lock of hair. I mean, do any of you guys remember whenever Angelina Jolie married Billy Bob Thornton? I think they each had a vial of their own blood that they wore as a locket. I mean, yeah, people do some interesting things. Next up, let's talk about religious pendants. So depending on what religion you're a part of and how you simply want to wear it, I know different countries and different religions have different rules on this, but one of the more common ones, again, we see in the West is going to be Christianity. You're going to see anything from crosses to crucifixes to really intricate designs with, precious stones put into the cross. And by the way, gents, I'm curious about the pendants that you actually wear. Any of you guys out there wearing a religious one that I didn't mention? I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. Next up, let's talk about bar pendants and dog tags. Very similar to each other. Often, dog tags going to be associated with the military. The idea was, and we also had one, you had two of them that you were issued. You put one on your boot and you put one around your necklace in case you got the torso blown off. They could at least identify you from your boot. Point being, it was a form of identification. But so many guys get used to this and it becomes an association of who they're part of. They keep wearing them. Other people want to wear them because it was something that their father wore, their grandfather wore, and they want to remember where they come from. Now, bar pendants, very similar, but they are oftentimes have more of a personal association. It really is where a place where you can put some information. I know people just want to be able to maybe they've got a medical condition, so it actually does kind of become a piece of jewelry when they've got that around the neck. And what if you want to wear a necklace that represents a personal hobby, maybe a milestone, represents kind of just something that's important to you? Well, those are going to be known as charm pendants. Now, the design of charm pendants is almost limitless. We see animals, we see letters, we see objects, we see all types of symbolism. It really depends on what you want to do, and the limits are your imagination. Now, if you're wanting to show wealth, if you're wanting to show power, if you just want a little bit of bling to draw attention, then in that case, you're going to go with a gemstone pendant. Diamonds, rubies, sapphires, emeralds, tons of options here, almost an unlimited number of different cuts. You can go with a wider size, but really in general for men, I'd say keep it relatively small. Now, what about symbol pendants? So this is going to be, Star of David, peace sign, and you could argue that Star of David is definitely going to be religious, but this is if you just want to send a signal. You want to be able to say, hey, this is the message. This is something I believe in. You're also going to see medallion pendants out there, and these are going to be, as the name implies, circular, going to look like a coin. They can be large, they can be small. I've actually thought about taking my challenge coins at Real Men Real Style and turning them into a smaller necklace. But the idea here is to be able to have some information or to have a symbol that fits right there on a circular or even sometimes square medallion. And of course, let's not forget amulet or talisman pendants. These again are going to be associated with being able to ward off evil spirits, be able to bring the wearer luck. And what's cool about these is there isn't a right or wrong here, because I know so many of you guys have different cultural backgrounds, you've got different beliefs. So now let's get to the section of how do you wear a necklace and look good. So the first thing I want you to think about is your body size and the proportions and the size of the necklace. Because I get it, that necklace may have emotional meaning to you, but if it's way too large, is this something that's really going to look good on you? I get it, you love it, but that chain may look better just framing it and keeping it in the office. But seriously, gents, if you are a taller, if you're a bigger guy, you can wear larger necklaces. If you're going to be a smaller guy, if you have a more petite frame, then in that case, you definitely want to wear something that's going to work with your body build. Next up, let's look at the outfit. Let's look at the clothing. If you're going to wear really formal clothing, in general, wearing jewelry, especially necklaces, is going to bring down the formality. It's going to make it a bit more casual. That being said, again, if you're going out and you've got nothing here on the neck, you want to be able, it's a casual environment. You're going to be meeting up with friends. You want something that's going to help you stand apart from the crowd. There's nothing with wearing maybe a silver, choker just right in here. And next up, let's talk about confidence. So if you're going to be wearing the necklace for the first time, understand you're probably going to be a little bit conscious about it. My recommendation is to wear the necklace around your house, not in front of anybody. Just get used to putting it on the neck. This is the difference between, something we think it's uncomfortable, but it's really just we're unfamiliar with wearing it. So you want to put in the reps, just get used to it. Next thing you know, you're going to go to the grocery store. You forgot the chain was there and you're just going to come back. And, no one said it was horrible. No one, maybe you did get a positive compliment. Someone said, nice chain. You realized you were wearing it. That's where you want to get to, where you don't even realize that you had the thing on. It just feels good having it there. It becomes second nature. Proportionally it's correct. The colors, that's another thing to think about. Really, if you are, one thing I look at my veins. If you are cool toned, which you should be able to see like a green or bluish vein, then I think silver in general is going to look better on you. If you're warmer toned and everything looks red or you're just not seeing that, you gravitate towards gold, then wear gold chains. But again, gents, more important than that is putting in the reps, getting used to wearing something so it becomes second nature, because when you are confident, believe it or not, you can pull off almost anything. So one of the biggest mistakes men make when they're wearing Chelsea boots, they wear these boots with the wrong type of pants. So as most of you guys know, trousers come in a variety of cuts. You got skinny, slim, tapered, straight, loose, and baggy. Now, historically, Chelsea boots have been designed in a way that they work with a slimmer silhouette. So what that means in general, Chelseas need to be paired up with trousers that have a skinny, slim, or tapered cut. Any type of jean or trouser that's got a loose or a baggy cut, well, Chelseas just aren't going to pair well with them. Now, what about a straight cut, especially in denim? Well, in that case, you're going to want to choose a Chelsea boot whose style is a bit chunkier. You want a style that's going to be a little bit more robust. Instead of having a leather bottom, we've got a nice thick rubber tread. And when compared toe to toe with a pair of Chelseas that have more of a leather dress shoe type sole, you can clearly see the difference in the heaviness and overall size of the silhouette. Well, a Chelsea boot with that heavier proportion can be worn with straight jeans, or maybe even a pair of gray flannels, cavalry twill, or chinos with a looser cut. Now that takes me to the next point of how I see guys styling Chelsea boots wrong, is that they wear the wrong type of Chelsea boot with the outfit they're trying to style. Now, before I break out the differences, first you have to understand what are the key characteristics that make a Chelsea boot, well, a Chelsea boot. Well, first up, we've got the elastic gusset. Notice that we have no laces on the upper part of the boot. What this creates is a very sleek silhouette and a boot whose style is made to conform close to the foot. The next key characteristic, the height of the boots, made to just cover the ankles, which compared to a lot of other styles out there, makes them lighter and smaller. Now, the third characteristic, the sleek silhouette. Unlike heavier boots that have lacing systems and multiple layers of leather, Chelseas are smooth and clean with one thin layer on the upper. Now, we've already talked about the difference between dress boot Chelseas and casual Chelseas, but another characteristic we'll see on a lot of the casual styles is going to be a pull strap. Located on the back of the boot, you will occasionally see them on dress style Chelseas, but most of the time with these more formal variants, they're going to try to keep them sleek and minimal so they won't add it. Dress boot Chelseas often are going to leverage a leather sole, although in this case, as you can see, we have a hybrid using a rubber cut through to give the sole more traction. Now, the next mistake I see guys making when they're trying to style Chelsea boots, how they're wearing them wrong, is they don't understand the importance of color and material. So in general, darker colors and smooth leathers are going to be more formal. Lighter colors and non-smooth materials like suede are going to be more casual. Now, the reality is a lot of boots out there don't fall on one of those two extremes. They fall somewhere in the middle. Right here, we've got a dark pair of Chelsea boots, but they're made from a suede material. So where do these fall? The quick answer is you usually can go down, but you can't always go back up. So would I be able to wear these with a suit? Probably not. But I could wear these with jeans, I could wear these with chinos, a cavalry twill. Maybe because flannel has a napped surface and this has a little bit of texture, I wouldn't try to mix that combination. But no, you could wear this with a lot of different combinations and it'd look good. This pair, on the other hand, lighter color with the suede again. Yes, this is going to be even more casual than that last pair. And this pair right here, even though it has an overall sleek design, more like a dress boot, it's still going to be casual. I could wear this with a pair of odd trousers, with a casual ensemble, maybe even a light or dark sports jacket. But yeah, this is not one I would ever dress up with a formal suit. Now, speaking of formal suits, am I saying that you could wear this with a morning suit or a tuxedo? No. By formal suit, what I'm talking about is a dark colored regular business suit. If it was raining, if there's a bit of snow, I have no problem with a guy wearing a pair of dark colored Chelsea boots to give himself a little bit more traction and protection. That being said, Chelsea boots in general are more casual than a dress shoe made to go with the suit like Balmoral Oxfords, but they can get a pass when conditions call for them. Now, speaking of inclement weather, a lot of guys, when they're wearing their Chelsea boots, they don't think to protect them. I always use a boot protector, even though Thursday boots, they actually use a water-resistant suede, which I have tested, as you can see right here. I've poured water. I mean, it rolls right off. Still, with all of my footwear, especially if I'm going to be exposing them to fall weather, which is often snow and sleet, I like a silicone-based spray, which provides a layer of water protection. The only bad thing is you have to apply this after every couple wears. And by the way, smooth leathers that are unprotected are not fully resistant to the elements. So don't make the mistake of not treating your boots if you spend a lot of time walking through the elements, because when water and salt that is often put on the roads penetrates leather and then it leaves quickly, it can leave the leather drier than what it was before and lead to discoloring and worse, cracking of the leather. So yeah, condition, weather seal, and whenever you do this on your boots, make sure to test a small area, because if it's going to discolor, you want to be able to catch that before you put it on the entire boot. Now let's talk a little bit about the history of the Chelsea boot. Chelsea boots were developed in the 1830s for none other than Queen Victoria. Yes, the Queen's custom boot maker was commissioned to design a boot that would be easy for the Queen to pull on and off whenever she wanted to go horseback riding. Now the style remained an obscure one for over 100 years until it was made popular by the mods in the 1950s. These fashionistas, they loved the sleek, streamlined appearance of Chelsea boots, and at this point the formerly unnamed ankle boot took on the name Chelsea because it was in that area around King's Road in London that they became popular. And all this was supercharged in the 1960s when the Beatles started wearing Chelsea boots. Now their boots were custom made, and they actually had a thicker, higher heel that was about 2 inches, known as a Cuban heel, and at that point and for decades later, rock stars around the world continued to wear Chelseas because of their style, look, and comfort. So as a guy that loves Chelsea boots, what are some of my favorite combinations? So first up, I love this color of brown, especially when worn with blue or indigo jeans. Blue and brown is a natural combination. It works really well. For me, mixing this in with an olive green or dark blue sweater, I just love it when the shoes have a little bit of a pop to them. And this simple but clean combination in the fall, for me, is a go-to look. And if that's too much for you, that same combination with those sweaters, that dark jeans with this dark brown right here, again, a smoother leather, the boots aren't going to be as eye-catching, but what I love about this, again, a little bit more muted, but for a guy that just wants to look good and wear a pair of comfortable boots, an easy combination to pull off. Now, what about black Chelsea boots? Again, you could dress this down with a pair of dark denim, maybe in charcoal gray, black, but I really like these boots with a gray flannel. That combination right there with a nice sports jacket. Yeah, it's not a full-on suit, but wearing this combination in today's day and age, most people are going to think this is a suit combination, and they are going to treat you with respect. And again, the napped weave of the flannel mixed in with the formality of these boots, it really is an easy way to dress up without dressing up. Now, what about a lighter pair of Chelseas? Again, we're going with a suede. We're going with something that's going to be high contrast. So this right here, I see wearing with a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. Just kidding. Don't ever, actually, you know, there are ways to be able to wear shorts and boots together, but that is for a separate video. Now, this combination right here, I'd wear it with actually true blue jeans. Maybe go with a bit more of a tapered or slim cut. Maybe even roll the bottom of the jeans. That way it provides a nice, clean transition into that blue. And on top, wear a long sleeve Henley or maybe a colored t-shirt of your choice with a V-neck perhaps. Casual boots for a casual weekend combination when you're just out having fun. If a man's wearing Western boots, should he tuck his jeans into the boot's shaft? Now, I know some of you guys are thinking, come on, Antonio, a man never tucks his jeans into his boots. And for most guys, that advice is spot on. Now, you will see women in various situations tucking their jeans or trousers right into the boots, and that's because they're wearing the boots as a fashion piece. I mean, hey, they got a good looking shaft on their leg, they want to show it off. But for most men, the boot is less fashion than it is function, because they're comfortable, because they work with your outfit, because for a lot of guys, they become their day-to-day wear. That being said, there are situations in which a man would want to tuck his jeans into his boots. Maybe you're walking across town, walking across the farm, and it is raining. There's mud out there. You want to protect your pants. You don't want to get them dirty, then tuck them into the boots. Or maybe you're riding a horse or a motorbike, and you're going through brush, and you want to better protect your legs without, damaging your trousers. Historically, that was the purpose for the high shaft, protection from the elements, animals, brush, anything you can think of. Now, that first mistake, definitely a big one, but not the biggest one on this list. Now, that's the majority of men do not even try wearing Western boots because they think for some reason you got to be a cowboy to be able to pull this off. Here's the secret, gents. To be able to rock Western boots, you just need to have the confidence to get started. Gents, it doesn't matter if you're commuting to LA because you got a house in the valley, or maybe you've always just viewed yourself as a simple boy who grew up in Long Island. You may even be a liberal holding out in the village, but here's the thing, you can go country. Look at them boots. Please tell me somebody got that reference. I know for me, I bought my first pair of boots because I wanted to dance with a beautiful girl. I was in high school and I got invited to her prom and I had a great time and never looked back. Seriously, guys, you want to meet the ladies, get on the dance floor. And that takes us to the next mistake, not wearing the boots. And that's why I think having a reason, having a purpose of where you're going to wear them, whether it be work, whether it be the dance floor, find a reason and actually start putting these things on. I practice wearing them around the house. Not only breaks them in, it gets you used to simply wearing them, then you're wearing them out, you're not even thinking about it. The next mistake is not getting the right fit. So the big mistake here is you go into it thinking, okay, it's like buying running shoes. No, it's not. You want to pay attention to a very particular part of the fit. Now, functionally, Western boots are made to be able to slip off. We're going to talk about why a little bit later in the history, but understand that it's okay if you've got a little bit of looseness in the back or even in the front area, but you want to make sure you got a firm grip right here again in the bridge sole area. The next mistake I want to talk about is not buying the right style for your needs. I talked about 3 different styles. We have 2 of them in the classic Western design. They're going to have the higher shaft, and then you have the ropers. But first up, let's look at one of this classic pair of boots right here. And this is very similar to the first pair of boots I ever bought as a teenager when I wanted to go out dancing. I went with black because it's one of the easiest colors, going to already match a lot of things in your wardrobe. When you wear a pair of pants over this, you're going to notice that, hey, actually, most people won't even notice you're wearing boots, but you are going to stand taller. And again, what you want on a pair of boots like this to be able to move across the dance floor, that's where a lot of people use it, is simply, hey, you want to have that little bit, you want to have that leather right here on the base. You can have rubber back here. This gives you a little bit more traction, and I do like that. But yeah, you want to be able to glide, you want to be able to move. Now, could you use this in a horse? Yes, you could. And I know some of you guys do own animals and you're up on horseback, so it would make a great, basically the heel was designed, the cowboy heel, and traditionally cowboy heels are even longer than this, so it can go 1.5 inches to almost 2 inches. That would allow you to be able to get a really firm grip in the saddle. And I know I just misspoke there. I meant stirrup, but in general on a saddle, if you know all the parts of it, which I'm not going to get into those details. I did grow up riding horses, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Any West Texans out there and are from Midland, Odessa, Midland, Greenwood, that's where actually I'm from. But let's talk about a more functional boot. This is one that you definitely want to have a rubber sole, and there's a number of companies that have made names for themselves. Now, practicality or historically, this isn't something that we saw at rubber soles, but when it comes to being able to get traction, if you're going to just want a pair of boots that you can slip on, slip off, you're going to be working in, that's where actually having a square toe is really nice, because you can kick things, kick machinery. You know how it is. You kick it, it starts to work again. Guys, this is a practical, simple boot. In addition, the leather is going to be very rugged. It's going to be able to splash water in it, throw water in it, walk through puddles, walk through mud, and you want to be able to clean these up. You'll also notice the color here is lighter. Those other ones you could actually wear with a sports jacket. You could dress them up. I mean, gosh, you could even wear, go with the Texas tux, where you basically have a tux on top, then you've got black jeans with the boots. But I know not really a thing outside of Texas, but this right here, these are going to be casual. You can wear them with jeans every day, but not really going to dress these up too much because they're always going to be casual in style. That being said, you wear these with jeans and a t-shirt, maybe a long sleeve Henley. It's a good look. But if those last 2 styles are a little bit too cowboy for you, then you want to go for ropers. And I know there are ropers out there with laces. In general, the ropers I'm talking about are going to be slip on and slip off. So you're not going to have any type of lacing. The shaft is going to be shorter. For a lot of guys, this is a great place to start. They're not as heavy, although cowboy boots in general are not, I don't think, very heavy. But right here, you'll also see at the bottom, we've got the rubber sole in the back. We've got the leather right here. So these are also great for dancing. The heel in general on the roper as well is going to be a little bit wider. So these are just easier to walk in. If you're getting your first pair, I highly recommend you look at ropers. Now, this next mistake can really come back to bite you when you get your first pair of Western boots and they have a leather sole, and this applies to dress shoes as well. You want to wear them, preferably on some cement, on something rough, because you are going to want to create a little bit of traction. If it's something you live in a part of the world or you're going up and down really slick stairs, then I would recommend finding something either with a full rubber sole or taking these to a cobbler, or there are these things that you can basically put on your soles that will give them traction, but you do not want to wear these right out the box. And now let's address the issue of comfort. So many guys stay away from Western boots because they're like, oh, look at that heel. They just don't look comfortable. Guys, once you go Western boot, you ain't going back because they are so comfortable. Slip on and off, great for travelers. You are going to get compliments. You'll be over in London. People will want to buy these boots off you because, yeah, they just simply look good. They're like, oh, I've always wanted a pair. Are you from, Oklahoma, New Mexico? Not all cowboys are from Texas. What, Colorado? Point being is there's so much character, and they are, besides being comfortable, they've got so much style. Now, at this point, I want to go a little bit deeper into what exactly is a Western boot. A cowboy boot. Those words used interchangeability, although cowboy is more of a style. But the Western boot, which includes the roper, includes the cowboy, includes the buckaroo, in general, when we look at the pieces, we're going to see that there really isn't lacing. Again, there are some ropers with lacing, but I'm skipping those. We see that really it's a very similar style to what we see as the Chelsea, but the big thing here is going to be the shaft. In a nutshell, the Western boot has a very distinctive style, but there are going to be some characteristic differences in the different families and the function of the boot. Let's look at the toe. We talked about the square toe. And this one, again, very functional when you're working on a farm, you're working on a ranch, you want to be able to kick something, use those feet for more than just walking. You got the traditional. And again, this one is great, especially for dress boots. But one of the issues is that you don't want to kick things that you can puncture. Next up, you've got the snip toe. A lot of guys really like this because it's easy to get in and out of the saddle. At the same time, it is functional for them. And then you've got the more rounded toe. We see this on a lot of ropers or a guy that's got a wider foot. This is probably going to be one of the most comfortable styles out there. Now, what about the history of the Western boot? Where did it come from? Well, ever since men have been riding horses and women, we have worn shoes that protect our feet and that are easy to get in and out of. So we saw a wide variety of equestrian boots, especially coming out of Europe. Now, in the American Northwest, what we saw happen in the 1860s were the huge cattle drives from Texas up to Kansas. At the same time, we had a number of immigrants coming over from Europe to the opportunities out west, and many of them were skilled shoemakers. So they were taking up residence in Kansas, in Oklahoma, in Texas, because you had these huge cattle drives. These cowboys with a lot of money, they were ruining their footwear going up. And so guess what? When they're up in Kansas, they would buy a brand new pair of boots. A lot of times buy multiple pair of boots. One pair of boots that you could wear in town, another that you would simply wear when you're in the saddle working. Now, over a 50-year period with this boom, as you can imagine, the boots got a little bit intricate. This is when people really started paying attention, having fun with the design on the shaft. Guys like to be able to show off a little bit of money. They got a nice pair of boots, and they also got picked up by the budding fashion industry. Now, the cattle drives ended in the 1880s, killed by barbed wire. But why didn't barbed wire, why didn't the loss of the cattle drives kill the Western boot? Well, first up, it was established. Second up, it was incredibly functional. You had something that guys liked wearing. They loved the design features. Men continued to ride horses for another 50 years. And to this day, you still got many men that are riding horses and women. But what we see here is a boot that really is the apex of its design. If you want to wear something you can wear comfortable in a Western saddle, be able to keep it right there in the stirrup, you're not, if you fall off the horse, you're not going to get dragged to your death because the boot is going to slip right off, doesn't have any laces, and overall it's just a good looking functional piece of gear. The Western boot has survived because people still flock to it because of just all the great capabilities and functions it still has. Now, when it comes to the style aspect, the fashion industry has picked up boots on and off for decades. And you're going to see all different types of designs. There are companies out there like Rocket Buster where you can spend like $10,000, $20,000 on a pair of custom made boots with intricate designs. Very cool. Definitely go check them out. But right here, the big thing that you're going to notice is the heel isn't what it used to be. And that makes sense because people want something more functional. The majority of people that are buying these aren't going to be up in the saddle all day. Which brings up the question, okay, if you're not going to be up in the saddle all day, does that mean you're a poser if you buy a pair of Western boots? Of course not, because you may be riding that steel horse. Maybe you ride a motorcycle. You want a pair of boots that looks good on and off. Yes, biker boots are awesome, but they can grab a lot of attention. They're made necessarily, sometimes be worn with a whole-on leather suit. If you want something that you can just walk into the bar, walk into the party and just, hey, no one know that you showed up on that Harley Davidson or Indian motorcycle, then maybe this is a great style for you. And what to wear with Western boots. Now, I already talked earlier about the differences between formal, casual, and trying to wear them in those situations. If you have the confidence, you can pull this look off in New York City. But for the majority of people, I'm going to say that boots should sit in the casual realm. So match them with jeans. That is the easiest piece to be able to wear with them. Sometimes people are going, hey, can I wear them with khakis? I don't think so. Can I wear them with shorts? My uncle did. I'm not going to say anything bad about Uncle Michael. For the majority of us, though, wearing this with shorts, wearing this with khakis, no. Simply wear these with jeans. It's an easy combination. Then what to wear with the jeans? Do you need to wear a Western shirt? No, you don't. You can wear a t-shirt. You can wear a variety of button downs. You can actually even pull off a sports jacket if you so choose. Point being is, though, try to keep it casual. Don't think that you're really going to be wearing a whole dress shirt, dress trouser combination, and then, trying to wear a pair of casual boots like this. Which takes me to the question, could you actually wear Western boots with a suit. A pair like this, you're in Houston, Texas, go for it. If you are outside of Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, you want to really make sure, again, you are in a position where you can pull it off. Maybe you've got the confidence. Maybe you own the company. Maybe it is where you're from. You're, Montana. You can definitely pull this off. But I would be careful in areas where, you just don't have that power. You don't have maybe the confidence, because it can draw sometimes unwanted attention. Now, if you disagree with me, I want to hear from you down in the comments, especially if you love wearing Western boots, what situations, what outfits you've pulled them off with. I know a lot of my answers here are very subjective. It's my opinion, and I always love hearing from you guys down in the comments below. Now, we talked about jeans. What are the best jeans? Do you really want to wear a strong blue? No, I like darker jeans in general. Black jeans work great. Gray jeans as well. But again, darker is really what it's going to be at. If you want to go with jeans with a bright color, or ones that are lighter in color, I just don't feel it always works great. But again, some of you guys may prove me wrong. The weight of the jeans. I do think that this is important. Don't go with really lightweight jeans. You want to go with something a little bit heavier. I'm not saying you got to go all 16 ounces Japanese denim type thing with raw, but I am saying that go with some, there's a reason why a lot of guys wear Wranglers, because they make styles that just simply work. And they've also got that boot cut. Do you always have to go with the boot cut? No, but avoid skinny jeans or any type of really tight taper or thin cut that is not going to allow you to basically get the jeans around the shaft. And what color should you choose, black or brown? Again, black is going to be more formal. Brown is always going to be more casual, and you're going to see a lot of the styles, but the style does have something to do with it. A black in a square toe versus a dark brown in a curved toe that has just a really nice classic design. Maybe the black has a little bit of decoration on the shaft and on the front of, the toe area. Then in that case, you just have to understand there are many different options out there, and the rules I lay out here are in general. I'd be willing to bet you $1,000 that if you wore a suit for a week in public, that you'd receive compliments. Some of you guys would get a double take. You'd have random people you don't know show you more respect. And on top of all that, you would feel more confident. Now, without even knowing you, how can I be so confident about this? Because for over a decade, I've studied the effects of clothing on human behavior. Again and again, we see men that dress well, men that wear a suit, are treated better than men that don't, men that dress down. Now, the reason is simple. Most people have a cognitive bias that a well-dressed individual is of higher status. They're wealthier, they're more intelligent, they're more powerful. Now, is this 100% accurate? Of course not. But is it a reality of life? You betcha. You see, human beings use mental shortcuts to be able to make decisions quickly and efficiently. These shortcuts rely on surface information, our physical appearance, how we dress being one of the most influential. Understanding this, gentlemen, is why I make the claim, especially in today's day and age when most people are dressing down, that every man must own a suit that fits him well, looks good, and makes him feel like $1 million. Opportunity finds the well-dressed man. So you've probably heard the saying that opportunity is luck meeting preparation. Well, I'm not going to go so far as to say that wearing a suit one time is going to change your life, but I wouldn't be surprised if every time you wore a suit, opportunity found you. Because here's the thing, every single interaction you have with another person, every time you're mixing in with a crowd, every time you walk past a beautiful woman, there is an opportunity there. Now, whether or not a person decides to engage with another person often depends on what they see, the visual cues they're given. So when you look the part of a success, when you come off as more attractive, when you're sending a signal, wearing clothing that accentuates your build to show that you take care of yourself, don't be surprised, gentlemen, when opportunity starts to fall into your lap. In a casual world, a man in a suit stands out. Now, a lot of guys out there are saying, well, that's all fine and dandy, but I'm a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy. Well, first up, when the suit fits and it's made from a quality material, it can be incredibly comfortable. But before we get into that, are you sure you're a jeans and t-shirt kind of guy? Or is that a style your mom chose for you when you were 8 and you stuck with it? My point is, I think your clothing should reflect who you are and who you aspire to be. So that best version of yourself that you are working hard to become in the next few years, what does he dress like? And doesn't he have the courage to dress in a way that he stands out from the crowd? A suit can be the most versatile piece of clothing in your wardrobe. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking, come on, suits, they're boring, and I don't need to ever get dressed up. Now, we'll address that latter point here in a few minutes, but let me address that misconception that suits are only formal wear. Gents, of course, you can dress up a suit, but you can also dress down a suit. In fact, if you go with a neutral color like gray here, look at the different shirts, look at the different sweaters, the different combinations that you can put together with just a few pieces of clothing. Look at this combination right here. I'm just wearing the jacket with a pair of jeans, this turtleneck sweater. This is a great fall and winter look. A well-tailored suit levels up performance. Now, if you're still on the fence about wearing a suit because you're like, Antonio, my job doesn't require it. Well, what does your job require? That you are working at a high level if you want to get a promotion? Or if you're running your own company, you probably know the saying, you eat what you kill, right? Or here's the deal. You ever hear of enclothed cognition? This is a new field of study emerged about 20 years ago, and it's where researchers were able to replicate and show again and again when people dressed a certain way, they performed at a higher level. Now, the classic study was with doctor jackets, which when they thought they were wearing a doctor jacket, they would score higher on exams versus a painter's smock. But there was a recent study out of the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology that demonstrated that when participants wore formal clothing, aka a suit, they actually exhibited higher cognitive ability. They also negotiated better. And as you guys know, negotiations, one of the most important things that can make or break a business. It can mean the difference between you losing a $5 million deal or closing that $5 million deal. And when you do close that $5 million deal, make sure to send me a commission check. I'll put my address right down there in the description of today's video.
I am the one, the way your son don't need.
But seriously, gents, why not increase your odds? Why not dress the part and increase your likelihood of success? Your suit is a style conduit. Now, this next one came to me the other day when I was watching that new series, He-Man. Have you seen it? I know it's a cartoon, but hey, I'm a kid of the 80s. I grew up watching that stuff, so it was cool to see them actually pick up where they left off. In any case, and sorry to ruin it for you, but He-Man was able to transform without his sword. And he made a point of explaining that the sword, that's nothing more than a conduit.
See, the sword is just the conduit.
Which also reminded me of Thor in the movie Ragnarok when he loses Jonathan. Again, later in the movie, we have Odin remind Thor that the hammer was nothing more than a conduit of his power. My point, gentlemen, is that when you wear a suit, this is like your style conduit. You see, I believe you're a great guy. If you're watching my videos, you are all about self-improvement and looking your best. And when you put on a suit, this is a conduit that brings it all together. A well-fitted suit makes you look good, especially if you spend some time in the gym. It builds up the shoulders, slims up the silhouette, makes your hands look larger. Overall, gives you a more masculine silhouette. Your suit, in a way, unlocks your potential. It allows you to more clearly display your confidence, your competence, your power. Now, if you can't tell, I'm enjoying myself in today's video, and I do have to warn you that if you use this information, you are at risk of getting too many compliments. Seriously, I was at a conference the other day in Dallas. Everyone else is dressed down. I'm dressed up, looking good, and I got so many compliments. It was almost distracting. I just had to power through it. But seriously, I mean, you get so many people throwing this at you. I would joke and say, if I dress down, you wouldn't believe what I do for a living. And that takes me to my next point. People treat a man in a suit better. Now, despite what the pop culture may try to tell you, the world is not fair. And I think most of us have figured it out. But with suits, man, it is a shortcut to immediately getting treated with more respect. An example of this, when I'm in a group with 3 other guys, we're talking, and somebody else comes up at a conference. What I find, again, because I am the guy wearing a sports jacket or a suit, I am looked to as the guy in charge, the authority. Now, it probably also helps I've got good manners and I quickly introduce myself, introduce other people. But this simple display of good manners and dressing well instantly in this person's mind who I just met, well, they put me up as an authority. They put me up as this higher status individual. A suit as a signature look helps you become memorable. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, names are hard to remember. The reason for that is most Western names are arbitrary. Versus characteristics or interesting facts about that person's life, those things for me seem a lot easier to remember. But have you ever noticed how you rarely forget a face? Think about that for a second. I mean, most faces are pretty much the same, 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. Yet visually, we're able to remember all of these small details that allow us to differentiate between thousands of people we meet over a lifetime. But guess what? It doesn't just stop at the face. You're also in many ways going to remember the way the person presents themselves. And whether it's good or bad, you're going to associate that feeling with them in your memory of them. So why not associate yourself with a look that is going to be remembered in a good way, like with a suit? A well-fitted suit is not uncomfortable, it's just unfamiliar. All right, Jen, so I know the ultimate red flag to a lot of guys is why they don't wear a suit on a daily basis. They think it's uncomfortable. Well, gents, here's a straight up fact. If the suit is cut well, if it fits your body well, it's not uncomfortable, you're just unfamiliar with the way it feels on your body. And like any good habit that you change up, like going to the gym, initially it feels odd wearing something like this. But after a few wearings, all of a sudden you start to get used to it. You start to become acclimated to looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, damn, I look good. And let's face it, you don't have to wear a necktie, although when you do, you are going to stand out from the crowd, but you can put together a casual ensemble. As you see in most of my videos, I'm wearing a collared shirt without a necktie. The fact of the matter is, gents, the act of wearing a structured jacket can become a habit in a matter of weeks by simply implementing a few changes in your wardrobe. A classic suit never goes out of style. So what about money? So first up, athleisure, streetwear, that stuff is expensive. And those graphic tees go out of style fast, and fast fashion pieces fall apart after a few washes. Classic, timeless menswear, guys, it isn't going anywhere. In fact, the classic suit jacket has been around for over 150 years. And the way fabrics are made, and if you take care of it, you're gonna be able to wear that suit for 20 years. In fact, the only issue may be your waist and you outgrowing it. It doesn't matter what your body looks like. In a suit, you'll look better. Straight up, gents, if you're tall and lanky, if you are short and stout, if you've got a big belly or you got crooked shoulders, gents, a suit jacket is the great equalizer. The garment was specifically designed to drape on the body to help a man look better. So if you're in shape, a well-fitted suit will show that off. If you're out of shape, a well-fitted suit is going to make you look taller, leaner, more masculine. Straight up, gents, a suit is perhaps the most sophisticated, strongest, sexiest thing a man can wear. So the first mistake most people make when applying a fragrance is they rub it in. Now I get why people do this. Maybe they're testing a fragrance, they want to put it on various parts of the body, but they don't want to put too much on. They want to spread it out. And to be transparent, personally, I did this for years. The problem though is when you're rubbing in a fragrance, you're mixing the oils on your skin with the oils in the fragrance, and you're not allowing the fragrance to dissipate naturally. So why is this an issue? Well, let's take the classic Dior fragrance, Eau Sauvage, made by the perfumer Runitza, masterpiece right here. He designed this in a way so that you would smell the top notes, the middle notes, and the base notes in that order. When you rub the fragrance, you're basically mixing up the notes. I mean, think about it if it was a piece of music. It definitely wouldn't sound the same, right? Now, some of you guys are saying, oh, that's a relatively linear fragrance. So let's take a more multi-dimensional fragrance. And by the way, a linear fragrance smells the same from the beginning to the end. But when we're talking about multi-dimensional fragrances, these are ones that are going to have a top, a very clear middle, a very clear base. And this is naturally as the molecules basically, as they're moving off and you're starting to pick them up. This is something with Black Orchid you can definitely pick up. A complex, beautiful fragrance that costs hundreds of dollars. If you're going to spend good money on a fragrance, don't you want to enjoy it the way that the artist put it together? They wanted to present it to you. You've got the truffle, you've got the Mexican chocolate, the patchouli. Ooh, just, yeah, beautiful fragrance. Can't get enough of this one. So the second mistake you want to avoid making when wearing a fragrance is the mist cloud. Now, if you're in a low gravity situation and you've got a clone fragrance, and yeah, you have a lot that you're okay wasting, you can, I guess if that's your habit, go for it. But I think for most of us, especially again, if you're spending a lot of money on a great fragrance, you don't want to do the mist cloud because more than half of that stuff does not end up on you. Instead, it ends up on the floor and it's just a big waste. Now specifically, what are my rules for applying fragrance? Well, first up, I apply it in the morning right out of the shower. I like to apply it on a clean body. I know some people use fragrance to cover up their smell. I do think someone should shower daily. That being said, I usually wait about 5 to 10 minutes after getting out of the shower. This is just natural for me. I've got my routine. I'm going to dry off. I'm going to usually shave. I'm going to apply lotions, all things like that. And then I apply my fragrance again, usually after about 10 minutes. Now, being a bit more specific, let's talk about distance from the skin when you spray. On average, 3 to 6 inches, but this depends on the atomizer. The atomizer is this device right here at the top, and it takes the fragrance and it takes it and pushes it into a mist form. You're going to find on higher end bottles, companies like Dior, they have amazing atomizers. They spend a lot of money on this, and you could be 6 inches away and this thing is still going to spray evenly on the body. Cheaper atomizers from low cost manufacturers, you'll find sometimes you got to be closer to 3 inches because they spray really wide and they are inconsistent, and you want to again make sure that most of this fragrance is going where you intend it to go. Now you're going to find some old school fragrances. These don't even use atomizers. These are going to be more of the splash variety. In general, these are going to have a weaker concentration, but don't let that fool you and be careful with this because you can easily put on too much. I find the best way to apply this is simply to hold it onto the hand, turn the fragrance over, and then just dab it on little bit by bit. You can keep adding more. Seriously, you want to be careful with splashing because as you can see right here, I am splashing it all over the place. It easily comes out, and yeah, now my office smells like English leather. Now I mentioned concentration. Let me explain that really quick. And by the way, there are no standards, so this is a generalization here, but Eau Fresh, this is going to be the lightest concentration. We're talking 1 to 3% of fragrance oil mixed in with usually alcohol. So this is going to be something that we'll see a lot of, just simple, clean aftershaves, colognes. And the alcohol makes sense for an aftershave because it was made to clean up cuts. It was a disinfectant first. Now, colognes in of themselves are going to be relatively weak. And when I say colognes, perfumes, fragrances, I'm kind of mixing the words together because I know in general in the United States, and we're talking about a men's fragrance, we say cologne. And besides being a city in Germany, it has a definition in the fragrance industry, which is about 2 to 5% concentration. So again, you can have about 5% fragrance oil mixed in with about 95% alcohol. So it's going to be about twice as strong as we see those Eau Freshes. Next up, we've got EDTs, and the concentration here about 5 to sometimes 15%. It's really all over the map. And by the way, an EDT is not necessarily going to be even stronger than a cologne when it comes to projection and smell. Again, there's no standards here, but usually we will see a higher concentration of the fragrance oil. Next up, we've got eau de parfums at about 15 to 20%, sometimes a little bit higher. And then we see parfums. Again, no standard here, 20 to sometimes 40%. At that point, it gets really hard for the atomizer to even work with that much oil. But I will say that, again, just because something is a parfum doesn't mean it's going to last longer. So then why did I tell you all that? Because the next mistake I see a lot of guys make is that they blindly use a fragrance without first having tested it. And I know this because I made this mistake with tobacco vanilla. I was in Lenox Mall with Aaron Marino and we're having a great time. And I'm like, I'm going to go try a whole bunch of fragrances. I was just starting my journey. I put on some tobacco vanilla, actually quite a bit of tobacco vanilla. We were driving around in his car. He made me stop. He's like, you got to get out and wash some of that stuff off. It was way too powerful. I mean, I probably sprayed on like 5 times because, it was free. I was just a sample. Guys, test drive it before you actually commit to a full bottle or wearing it in public. And you can also get the exact opposite. Like right here, Milsim Imperial by Creed. I absolutely love this fragrance. Beautiful. But I could spray this on 15 times and it's maybe going to last 3 to 4 hours, and I'm going to get maybe a foot of projection. So there are some great fragrances out there that smell amazing, very expensive, but yeah, you may not get much projection or much push off them at all. And that leads to my next basic rule, which is less is more. I like to be discovered, not announced when I walk into a room. Even if I've got one of my favorite fragrances right here, PDM's Carlisle. I absolutely love this during the winter, but I have made the mistake of putting on too much. And guess what? When you put on too much, you overwhelm people, especially if they're stuck in a car with you. If you're going to be flying on an airplane, I mean, you got to think of others. If you work in an office environment and there is a no scent policy, which by the way is stupid because everything has scent. I mean, literally you can't walk in. Your body naturally has a scent. That being said, I get where they're coming from. They don't want, to give people migraines, and you got to be careful of putting on too much. For me, in general, I find that 1 to 3 sprays in the chest area, if I'm at all concerned, if it's a new fragrance, that is the most I'm putting on. And again, this is in the chest area. I'm putting clothing over it, so that's even helping to mask it. And I like enough, though, for it to last sometimes 1 spray, though. Right here, Carlisle, I can get away with 1, maybe 2 sprays of this because the atomizer is good and it's a strong fragrance. Acqua di Gio, the new EDP right here, this maybe 5 sprays, especially during the summer. It's going to project a bit more. Usually I'm wearing short sleeve shirts. I find that I absolutely love this one. But again, if I'm going into an interview, maybe 1 to 2 sprays in the chest area, and that is it. Now, specifically, where to apply on the body. I know I've talked about spraying in the chest area multiple times. For me, that's my go-to area. If I want to project a bit more, I'll spray once on each wrist, maybe 2 times on the chest, so a total of 4 sprays. If I'm going with, Sauvage Elixir right here, which is really strong, 1 spray in the chest, half a spray on each of the wrists. Again, you got to know what you're putting on, have practice wearing this. Other areas, the back of the neck. This is really great if you want to leave a trail, basically a sillage. Sillage is basically the scent trail that you leave. Projection is how it pushes off. So sillage is really nice if you're going to be at a bar, if you're going to be in an event, and you want women turning their heads saying, wow, that guy smells amazing. That back of the neck is great. Also in the hair. I know some people are concerned about it drying out the hair. I feel this is relatively small, and the hair just does a great job of holding the smell. If you're wearing short sleeve shirts and you're putting on a bit more, it's a relatively weak fragrance. I find on the arms as well is great. So again, just right there, if you really like the fragrance, if it's relatively weak and you're going to be, just simply wearing it for yourself, you could easily put on 10 sprays. Now, again, that's probably too much for the vast majority of people, so stick with the first rule, better to be discovered than announced. maybe 1 to 2 sprays in the chest area. But what about clothing? So I get this question a lot, and I understand why you need to be careful, because you don't want to stain your clothing, especially if the fragrance, a lot of them have colors added to them. They will, for a white shirt, they may leave a slight discoloration. Go ahead and test it out. But if you don't want this to touch your skin, and I get some people don't want that, and you want the fragrance to last longer, then consider spraying on your clothing. And this is a great option. Again, same areas, chest, back of the neck. If you're wearing a suit, you could spray it right on the wrist areas of the suit, maybe even on the arm, in the chest area, even the back shoulder area. All of this, again, especially if you want to leave that intoxicating sillage trail, get back to those earlier rules, understand what you're putting on and how strong it is. Now, when applying fragrances, what about rules in the office? I talked about that lightly, but for me, the key here is making sure it's a fragrance that is versatile, one that isn't going to have a lot of pepper in it. I love Viktor & Rolf Spice Bomb Extreme. This is an amazing clubbing fragrance when you want to get recognized, but wearing it into the office, probably a little bit too much. Or do you want like animalistic notes in it? Probably not in the office. High sex appeal. Antaeus Just Beautiful by Chanel. Not something I'm going to wear into the office. However, Prada, this is a powdery fragrance right here. This is their Homme. This fragrance is a masterpiece, good quality ingredients, 2 sprays in the chest area, and it's going to stay close, perfect for the office. And that's what you're looking for, is a fragrance that's not going to offend, maybe a light floral, bit of citrus in it, something that's clean, something that, unless I guess you want your secretary to jump on you, then definitely, wear that one right there. Now, another mistake I see a lot of guys making when it comes to fragrance is that they don't choose their own fragrance. They get something as a gift and they wear it. They actually don't like it that much. You've got to trust that you can actually identify scents and fragrances that work with your body. This is actually, I've got data on this. I've read the research. Men naturally can pick up what's going to amplify, what's going to work with their natural scent. So trust yourself and don't trust scent strips. Yes, they're nice, they're convenient, they make it easy, but you actually need to put it on your skin and see how it reacts. I like it when a guy tries one fragrance, he gets a sample, or maybe he goes into a duty-free, tries one on. Don't try, 3 on. I've done this, it just doesn't work. And really, when it comes down to it, even if you're using sampling, the sticks and stuff like that, they really, once it goes beyond 3, you can't tell the difference. Your nose basically is overwhelmed. And I know people talk about, just smell some coffee, or those coffee beans. That is not proven. That is a bunch of bull. That stuff does not work. There's a whole story behind it, where that came from. Point being is trust your own nose and find something that you absolutely love, and then you're going to have what could be a signature scent, maybe something for the season. Let's talk about that. So when applying fragrances, is there one that you should apply during the summer, winter, fall, spring? Okay, so all this pertains to basically temperature and feelings that certain fragrances evoke. So right here, I've got, again, the classic Eau Sauvage. This is going to be a citrus, light, fresh, old school fragrance. Definitely one that, Alain Delon or somebody like that would be pulling this thing off. Your grandfather probably wore this, and I think that modern men could wear this and smell great. Just an amazing fragrance. But this is more geared towards brighter summer, hotter temperatures, just because it's lighter. It's the citrus, the florals, maybe some of the aromatic notes in this. Next up, Giorgio Armani, Stronger With You Intensely. This one right here is perfect for winter. Why? It's going to be deeper, richer, sweeter, heavier. Just think about that. During the winter, you want something that is going to kind of wrap around you like a hug. That's exactly what these heavier, deeper fragrances, but there are other characteristics, because if you're going out to a club during the summer, it's relatively cool. This would be a great fragrance to wear. Why? Because the ladies in general love fragrances that are sweeter, that are deeper, that are richer. Now, what about wearing unisex fragrance or women's fragrances? Guys, there is no sex to a fragrance. This is something marketers made up, so you can wear anything that you think smells great. In fact, I just did a video talking about baseball players, and one of them, he was wearing Victoria's Secret, and he had great, it was basically a performance enhancer for him. So, so I tried Velvet Orchid, a little bit too sweet for me, and in general, that's what you're going to find with a lot of women's fragrances. They're just too sweet for most men's taste. That being said, Narciso Rodriguez right here, Oud Musk. This is a unisex fragrance that a lot of women were doing reviews on, and I saw all of them were like, it's too masculine, too strong for me, just not something, it doesn't have enough sweetness. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this, and lo and behold, this thing is absolutely beautiful, and I love it because if you're looking for a unique fragrance that no other guy's going to be wearing, then you bring in something unisex, it really sets you apart. Now, the next question is, should you wear fragrance daily? My answer is yes. I love wearing fragrances because they enhance my mood, they make me feel better about myself. I'm wearing them for me, but I get it. Sometimes fragrances are expensive and you're like, okay, special occasions. In that case, I would say, you know what? Are you going with something popular? Does it have a clone version that you could wear this, Monday through Saturday, and then Sundays when you're heading to church, then wear your best? Or maybe build up a collection, have 4 fragrances that you rotate through. At the end of the day, a 100 ml bottle, you're going to get like 1,400 sprays. So even if you're putting this on, 3 to 4 sprays a day, that's going to give you a full year of use, which I would rather go through and continue to use these things than not use them at all. And that brings up the important question, are fragrances actually dangerous? Can you overuse them? So I haven't heard of anyone actually overdosing on fragrances, but I will say, hey, this is hitting your skin. With anything, water, you can drown. You can get too much water here. It is something that I say don't go overboard. Don't go in excess. And if you're worried at all, just simply spray on your clothing, put a little bit less on. But like I said, everything has a smell. And for me, I want to, we're all going to smell. I want to smell good. Now, what about reapplying fragrances? So the first rule here is, have you just gone nose blind? That fragrance you put on 3 hours ago, I know you can't smell it now, but go for a walk. Come back in and smell yourself. And if you can still smell it, it's just simply you became nose blind. This is a very natural thing that our body does, so that after, even like 10 to 15 minutes, we become accustomed to a smell so that we're able to pick up other smells. That being said, having a 200 ml bottle of a fragrance is not something that's easy to carry around, especially if you're traveling, going through airport security. I love travel atomizers. In fact, I love them so much, I ended up buying like 1,000 of them with my logo and stuff. I'm still trying to figure out how to ship these out to some of you guys that are awesome commenters down below. Yeah, this right here really solves the problem. They're so easy to use. As you can see, they've got a male, a female, and you simply put it together. You make love, you make it happen, and boom, you've got something that can travel and you can spray throughout the day. Now, if that's too much work for you, just buy a fragrance in a 50 ml bottle. You're going to pay more per ounce than if you buy bigger bottles, but these are easy to slip into a pocket or simply travel with, and you can pick up a couple of them and boom, problem solved. Now, what about layering fragrances? So this gets a lot more complex, and I don't recommend it for the guy just starting off, but in general, if you wear a light, clean, crisp fragrance in the morning, by afternoon time, most likely you can wear a heavier, deeper, darker fragrance. And this makes sense because if you wear something to work and then you want something that you can go out and play, to the bars later on, but don't go the opposite, because the darker, heavier ones last longer and they can still overpower these lighter fragrances even if you apply them, 8 hours after you applied the heavier one. Now, what about layering with moisturizers and conditioners? So if you're using a shampoo, if you're using a moisturizer that is really strong, give yourself a little bit of time. Usually those dissipate after 15 to 30 minutes. But if it's sticking around all day, you may want to switch to an unscented one because, yeah, that stuff is just probably overpowering and cheap smelling anyway. I don't have a problem with, even if there's a little bit of a smell from the moisturizer I was using, go ahead and put the fragrance on. It's going to, I think, it's going to cover it up and do, layering like that, I never really see an issue with. Now, a couple times in this video, I've talked about wearing a polo shirt with jeans. And some of you guys are like, Antonio, there is no way. No, there is a way. And I cover it in this video right here. Yes, I devoted a whole video to showing you how to be able to pull off this look and look amazing. So go check out this video right here, guys. If you want to learn how to wear a polo shirt with jeans, boom, got you covered. Yeah, go check it out. Solid video. Come on, click. Yes, go.